See you. Why can't I see you?
I don't know. I can see me.
You can see you
I can see me.
on the stream.
No, I'm not watching the stream.
I mean, you're not. What the fuck good are you? No, I'm just kidding. I think I have you on the wrong one though. Hold on a second.
Look, motherfucker.
Ugh, motherfucker. Keep fucking around. Whoa, I'm a big circle.
I actually do have this stream up, but it's underneath my Discord pop out, which is stay pinned top. So it's that pain in the ass.
Oh, there you are. Found you.
Wait, what? Did I pop that out?
Hey, did you pop it out or did you pop it off?
I popped it in.
Goddamn.
Today is a lesson about prepositions.
And barbecue potato chips. Barbecue's fucking amazing. So
Get it, Mystic. Get it, Misty.
hello, everybody. Welcome to the Malice experience. I like the logo on the other one a hell of a lot better than I like this one. Like, look. See how that logo looks? That looks fucking cool. Like, with the upside down experience and shit. That looks, that looks cool.
I like it upside down.
Right? So do I. 69 is amazing.
Yeah, that's too much work. I like to just, never mind. I'm sorry. YouTube, hi, how's it going?
Hi, YouTube. How's it going? Have you banned us yet? No? Demonetized? Oh, well, we're not monetized yet, so. But trust me, the moment that we are monetized, that demonetization is going to fucking happen.
Very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Which means neither myself or Mystic are going to be making a fucking dime. By the way, listeners in YouTube land, I've been thinking of, setting up a Patreon to pay Mystic for his time. So, well,
I don't need your 2 cents.
I'd be the 2 cents of the audience, so be careful. So, how would you guys feel about me setting up a Patreon? And as one of the perks, like I can only think of one perk off the top of my head, but you like the butthead laugh, all right. So I was thinking that as a perk to the Patreon, you guys, the viewers, could choose potentially a topic for us to talk about during the podcast. Does that sound like it'd be worth it to you guys? Like, we're talking like $1, right? Like $1 a month kind of thing.
That's one. You can always do offline videos and shit too. That's what I think most people do.
I like that. Or a private tarot reading from Mystic himself or myself.
Yeah.
Right? Whichever you choose. All for $1 a month. Right? So, yeah, you guys like that? A paid Discord? How does a paid Discord? You know what? We're not going to get into that right now because that sounds like it would just be way too complicated to get into right now. But email me and tell me about that. Because I'm thinking about setting up a Patreon specifically for the Malice experience. And, to kind of make it bigger and better, right?
We have a Patreon for our page, but it just doesn't seem to give enough yet to make it worth it. And I don't know it yet, so it's in Instagram territory for me. Which means I hate it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Shameless plug, everybody.
Not shameless. It's shameful. Come on now.
No. Be
I need
shameless.
a banner. I'm gonna get it printed on a piece of paper and just hold it up.
I have a Patreon. Give me your money. So
There's nothing on it.
you can actually hear. Whoa, awesome. Yeah. So we're doing. So the idea is a Patreon, $1 a month, and you guys can kind of go head to head and kind of vote on topics that we would talk about during at certain points in the month. Like I think we'll do one stream a month where it's kind of community based, so you guys would kind of decide what it is we're talking about, and maybe include a tarot reading from either Mystic or myself. These chips are really fucking crunchy.
Damn chimps. Get you every time.
Yeah, I know. Crunchy chips. Oh. Guys didn't see it before. These are Kettle Brand country style barbecue. And I'm really, really liking these. A lot. Anyway. As always, I'm going to pause the music. Because why not? I think it's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. All right, so we're going to get into the barbecue's good shit. We're going to get into the tarot deck of the week. What do you got for us? I swear to God, if that's mini one, I'm going to shove it up your ass.
How did you know?
You talked about it last week.
No, it's not the mini one. This is actually a really cool one. I'm kind of feeling do something a little different. This is called the Lost Hollow Tarot. I'm just going to show you. It comes in a 10, so it's special. That's it. Thank you. Have a nice day.
That is nice.
But this is one of those ones that like I found in this random dark corner of the dark web when I'm just kidding. But one of the things that I really like about it, it's an 80 card deck, first of all, so it's obviously there's a couple extra cards in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically it's a mix of Rider-Waite Smith, Crowley Harris, and Golden Dawn tradition tarot. I think, and I don't know why I never showed this one before, but I think you guys will really love the imagery on it. We'll show a couple. And we'll do a read from it. But I like one of the things that's really, really cool about this is the first time I've ever seen this written in a tarot book. This is the first page. I'm just going to read it. This book provides card themes and meanings for your own clarity. If you have a stronger or different association with a card that contradicts the meaning here, you must go by your own interpretation. This is meant as a guide, not dictator. I've never seen that written in a tarot book before.
I like that. That is legit.
First page. So I'm like, nice. All right. Yeah. And I've had these for quite a while. So as standard, backs reversible. It's a very neat, it's actually a matte black. It looks glossy, but it's matte with a really neat crossweave texture. A little flimsy, but normal card. Well, look at that. Just to get an idea of what the card's going to look like. I don't like the borders, but like the colors. That's the King of Pentacles.
That is nice. It's got a very nice, it's got like a propaganda kind of vibe to it.
Very. Like, and all the cards are going to be like that. So, let me see the Magician. I want to see what the Magician.
For a second, I thought he was taking a shit.
It does kind of look like that. Maybe
right,
he's shitting out magic.
He's kind of like looking around, like anybody watching me.
His legs are too long. Well, other than the his head's popped off and not actually connected. That's kind of interesting. What's the other one we always do? We always do the devil, right? And death. Death is, I mean, it's okay. Pretty nifty. I like the two color scheme.
I like the raven in it.
Yeah.
But it seems kind of like kind of cliche though. Like, you know,
it
like
is.
with the red and the blood and all that shit.
Yeah. Although blood's red, so I don't know how to make it another color. Maybe if I put it in front of my face like we did last time, it'll actually. There it goes. The devil. I mean death. This is the death.
No, it's devil. It says devil.
Does it say devil? It does say devil.
It does say devil.
Can't fucking read. Whoops. I mean, can't read. Shoot.
Yep, I can see it.
Can't show you that card. And then its extra cards are instead of the world, it has fulfillment, and then it has two preceding cards, influence and virtue. So very nifty deck, and we are going to use it to read.
Sounds fucking awesome. Let's do it.
Yep, I gotta give him a good shuffle. If anybody is interested in those cards, I can certainly post the link up because they are not. You can't find them on Amazon or most online places. They might have come from Etsy. I don't know.
Right. The art style, yeah,
So,
that whole propaganda style, like that whole fucking welcome to Russia kind of shit. Yeah.
hmm So we did a very freaking crazy reading last night. That kind of scared us a little bit. It was so on point. So we are going to go though do our normal weekly tarot and kind of see um what's going on this week. I have to shuffle them a little bit more because I put them in order so that I could go through the cards quicker.
You just want to touch him. Why does it look like your tongue is bleeding?
Not bleeding, and I'm not going to tell you why.
Did you go a little too hard?
I didn't say anything.
Got a
Oh, Rook's
little
in the chat. Shit.
got a little rough.
If you must know the truth, I have a thing. Funny. Where when I eat chips, which my favorite being salt and vinegar or lime chips, which are very acidic,
Mm-hmm.
I lick them before I eat them, so it makes my tongue roll.
Well,
That's
Rook,
where it comes from.
at least your man's got practice, so don't hate
I
on
don't I don't like none of y'all except everybody
it.
in chat. All right, so I will start off. I want to say this: the uh, balance of cards in the readings I've done. Well, this one, which I'm going to show in a minute. Um, the one I did last night and the one I did last week are extremely balanced. So this is following the same thing. Where first we have the Prince of Cups. So this would be akin to a court card. Oh God, I can't. I've got to find a better way to
That
get
is a
these images
nice
up.
looking fucking card. Can I just say that's a really nice looking fucking card?
It is, and it's really making me think that'd be a great tattoo in different color.
I completely agree.
It's so anyway. That the prince would be akin to a page, and or actually probably the knight, um, in the normal tarot. And then our next card is the Five of Wands. Wands. And our third is the Ace of Wands. So there's some new energy this week, and truthfully, like everything has been kind of this crazy mix of stuff. And then I think if you remember a couple weeks ago, the message of energy was take a pause, restock your stuff, get things together. And then last week it was a little bit of this come out of the pause, start moving towards something. And this week is the same thing. If you're familiar with the wands in tarot generally refer to this forward creative movement. So it's time to start getting ready to push forward and really start moving things again. If you talk to most astrologers or a lot of mystics or tarot readers or mediums right now, um, and this was a conversation we had last night too, there is like this full realignment that's coming, which yearly would happen anyway, right? That's the same. It's Samhain. We're coming on if you kind of think and I know not everybody's Wiccan or pagan or whatever, but going into the turn of the wheel at Samhain, that is the last point of where the ancestors are available. We're walking into a liminal space. We're walking into that area and time when things kind of cross over and then the earth goes into its harvest barren. This is the third and final harvest coming, the last bit of any opportunity for you to have to support you for the rest of the year. So when those things go barren, we turn into our creativity and the things that we need to do. And it gets a lot more difficult because you don't have that same amount of, or didn't have that same amount of work to keep you busy. So our energy for next week, our whole thing is seriously talking about move forward, push forward. If you're feeling the excitement, use it, play it, put it out there. It's a go time. Um, and we've been kind of leading up to this. And this, I think, is going to actually last all the way through probably towards the end of the year. Interestingly, a lot of planetary alignments are coming up if you're into astrology. So a lot of the retrogrades are going together. A lot of things are lining up like they haven't in a long time, which this is the time to start working on that part of your life where things are starting to get lined back up. I know I felt it today. Just randomly said, today is the most Saturday feeling Saturday I've had in a long time. Kind of doesn't make sense, on the surface of it. But if you think about it, it's like it actually felt like a Saturday. Like you kind of woke up a little bit and things were a little bit different today. Things are getting back to normal. Plus, I also love the fall, which sucks in Florida. But I digress. The message is the same, as I already said. It is move forward time. It is not time to rest. It is not time to not say what you're thinking. Five of Wands is a little worrisome. Kind of says it's going to be kind of tough. You might have some hard points, but doesn't matter. Because if you don't speak up now, you probably will never get it out. So if you're moving, if you are um, needing to say something to somebody,
Oh, we
it's
moving.
time to it's time to say it. Speak your mind is the energy for next week.
I would go as
Nike it.
far as saying that that's the energy for like right this goddamn minute.
It is, and it's it's time. The problem is though, things aren't lined up yet, right? So we're going into this push move forward thing at the same time the harvest is saying, work with your ancestors, learn, listen. At the same time, everything else is not quite organized yet as far as the energy. So it's kind
I
of one
think
of
it's
those
funny that you mentioned like
floppies.
I think it's funny that you mentioned work with your ancestors because the one thing that I've been trying to do um since so for those that don't know, um I would say I'm horrible at keeping track of time, so I'd say probably about 4 to 5 months ago my father passed away.
Ooh,
And the
I was
day
thinking about that today, by the way.
were you?
Hmm.
No, there's no coincidences.
Uh-uh.
Um and literally like the day of or the day after that I found out that he passed away, I was sitting here in my chair, feet extended out, and I was just kind of laying down, and I heard him say my name. I know he's with me to some level, but I have since dismantled my altar, so my altar is no longer there, which feels very strange. Like I don't have my altar, so like that I feel very naked without my altar. Um, but I've noticed that like recently, at least, it's been very difficult to kind of you know communicate with him, and it's something that I've been actually trying to do because we're coming up on Samhain. I would really like to, you know, try to initiate a full kind of communication with him, but I don't hear or feel that he's there. So, I mean, what do you think?
So I will tell you today, the reason it came up in my mind, Rook and I had sat down to do another video at our work table, which we haven't done in a little while. And we remembered we did a full ritual afterwards. And one of the things we kept were the ashes from the burn paper and from the cigars, because that was part of the ritual that we did where we smoked a cigar. And I have those ashes in a jar that I'm keeping to do something with. And I just saw it on my table. I'm like, and it just kind of popped into my head to think about it. But I the thing with ancestors for me is always I don't want to call in an ancestor that doesn't want to be called, right? Like you're kind of like to me it's almost I think, and this is a like it gets stuck in my head, and it's like you don't want to bother them if they're, not interested in being bothered. Maybe they've moved
Right.
on, but we had that conversation with a couple of people too, and their take was that doesn't change the energy. It doesn't change the need, and that's just not how I guess a lot of people think that the spirit world works. I have no clue how it works. Um, So I think you call, and if you reach out and you don't hear anything, it has to be taken as a not there, just not right for you at the time. That's one of the things that we're doing in our silent supper. Rook and I are making the scrying mirrors for each person, and we're intenting them specifically for reaching ancestors, and it's to show only the correct ancestors that the person needs at the time they need it. And so we're going to have each place setting is going to have a handmade scrying mirror that Rook and I have made for whoever sits at that particular place to eat dinner. Um, and just thought that would be kind of fun. So like that part of the process is really, you know, I don't I don't feel my grandmother around. She raised me, but I don't feel her around. But when I sit and think about things that have happened in my life, and then I try to reach out to ancestors, which I don't do often. I probably should do it more, but when we have done it, she's there. My uncle who practically destroyed 10 years of my life is there. And my aunt, who was the only one who tried to not make a big deal out of certain things and tried to make some normalcy, was there. And it's just I don't know. Sometimes it's a matter of calling, sometimes it's a matter of listening. Yeah, yeah. I think that's I don't think you have to feel somebody around because they're there. And you have to consider too, at least I would, that if you really, really want that energy or that ancestor to be present, you may be actually blocking it even further.
So don't try too hard.
Well, don't try to do I don't think it's not so much don't try too hard, it's just try and keep trying if you want, and then but no, you know, don't project what a human would think is the reason that you're not connecting at this point. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah, because we do that. Like you're like, oh, he's not listening. He must not be there. How do you know what I mean? And we project, but when really it's just like you didn't listen to the wind the right way that day, and that's where your ancestor was talking to you or
Well,
something.
yeah. I kind of look at it like, yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
old man's passed away, so he's probably got other shit he's got to do, and will get back to me when he's ready. Like, I mean, I think just because I look at it this way. I think just because, like, an ancestor, obviously has passed away and no longer with us, or it could be your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, whoever. I think just because they're not answering doesn't mean they're not listening. But I think that we have this kind of tendency to think that, you're dead. What the fuck do you got to do? Well, I mean, I think that there's, I still think that there's a lot that has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Afterlife. To kind of get your ducks in a row, so to speak, before you come back. And
Definitely.
so I like to look at it as like he's just busy. You know. So hopefully, because it was very nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was very, very nice to hear his voice. You know, the day. The day after he passed, because I was literally kind of stuck in kind of like that mode. It's like I'm never gonna hear his voice again. And out of all the times that I've heard his voice, that was the time that like really, really stuck with me. Is that sound of his voice when he said, when I just heard my name.
Yeah.
Guys thought I was going to say my name, didn't you? You're not that lucky. Those that know. Those who won't, probably won't. But so, but it would be nice that, like, with everything that's kind of going on, to kind of have just to be able to talk to him, with everything I got going on. Like, it's something that really fucks with me right now, and I think it's because the wound is still really fresh, but
Oh yeah.
it really does fuck with me that, like, with the particular things that are happening or going on in my life, the fact that I just really, really want my father's advice, and sadly, it's not a situation where I can get it, but I think that
You You probably already have his advice because you can probably assume what you think he would say. You just need somebody else to say it.
This is true.
Because then that's how, ancestors talk through our lives. And that's how we're immortal. That's where immortality really comes from. Every single thing has got to track back to something. You can hear that voice in your head saying, "Now, you idiot, why the hell did you do that?" I hear it all
Hmm.
the time from my grandmother. I'm afraid she'll come back from the grave and slap me sometimes, you know?
Right. No, I hear that. I hear that. Oh, my dad, it might be like a fucking back of the
Yeah.
head, but
And I don't want to make a joke out of it, but it's always kind of freaked me out. If your ancestors are always watching, does that mean they're watching you and you're, doing bodily functions that other people shouldn't be seeing when you do it in private?
I mean,
I
it could
mean,
be.
that's just weird.
I mean, you could be living vicariously, possibly. I don't know.
Uh, that's gross.
So,
Ugh.
so Rook, fucking, why did I say Rook? I'm thinking Rook because I
Probably
read
because it's
Rook
in
over
chat.
there. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Mystic, do me a favor. Keep everybody occupied. I need to get my bottle opener and a fucking glass. All right.
I will because I have something I'm really excited about, and it's a good time to talk about it. I'm gonna talk
All
about
right.
Silent Supper.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna still be listening. I can listen throughout the house. I just need to get the bottle opener.
Um, so yeah, like I wanted to talk about Silent Supper a little bit. I've never done one, like put one on. This year, Rook and I are putting the Silent Supper on, which I'm really excited about. And the planning has actually been almost full on like ritual in and of itself. So it's like, the figuring out what incenses we're going to do. We have a music playlist and getting all those things together and having people come over to talk about, who's going to do it, how's it going to be set up. The fire, which is a big part of it, is really exciting because that stuff feels like ritual. Like it's super ritualistic. It's preparation. It's circle work, and social at the same time. So we actually have friends again. It's nice. But for those of you that don't know, I did see somebody mention a dumb supper. It's often called a dumb supper. We call it silent supper just because a couple of people in the group um, we just like silent better for that particular case. But it is often and probably more often called dumb supper. And the idea is everybody is eating in silence in remembrance of the person and people and ancestors that have passed, those that we do know and those that we don't know. And we set them up a plate, of food and wine and beverage and things so that they can partake from the spirit world, and be a part of that dinner. Interesting things to consider, like, are we going to do buffet style service or are we going to have service food on the table that we pass around? And how's that going to look? Because if we're all silent, nobody can say pass the butter, although one of us is going to mess that up, probably me at some point. Um, but that may just making the decision that, what, we want the food on the table to be passed around because that's how families do it. It's usually on the table and you pass the food around and everybody takes what they need and what they want to eat. And then each of us that's participating is making one of the dishes that our ancestors would have made. And I just love the whole idea of it, the entering the joyfulness and then the liminal silence during the eating and then the ritual afterwards that we're planning. It's just gonna be a wonderful experience, I think. Um, Probably be the first time I actually ate at a dinner table other than a restaurant in years, probably. Well, maybe not that long. I think we did eat. We've eaten dinner on our table a couple times, which is now our workshop table, so we don't even have a dinner table. But anyway, point is, I think the idea of honoring ancestors is very important. Welcoming ancestors in to play a part in your life and recognizing them, good or bad. That influence has changed and made you who you are and what you do, and I think that's just really fun. I don't know if anybody in chat has ever done a silent supper before. That'd be kind of cool to know. Um, because this will be my first one to actually, like I said, put on. We've been to one with a group a long time ago, but I'm super excited. I also just want to eat. I know some of the people that are coming are really good cooks, so I'm just excited to eat their food too. Um, what was it? 2 years ago, maybe three, probably two. We had a really big Halloween party. And we usually deck our house out like crazy. We just have been too tired to do it lately. I kind of want to get some of our stuff out again. Um, we did the whole. I mean, we had fog machines all over the house, animatronics, the bat lights, different colored lights in different areas, graveyard setup. I want to do that so bad. You're not a loser, paranormal. We've not done it. This is going to be the first time. I don't know if it's going to be comfortable enough for everybody to record it, but if it is, we are going to we'll probably take a video. Um, I will say there's probably a couple people in our group that won't be comfortable with that, though. At least not with sharing it. So um, there's so many things that I have not experienced anyway. There's just tons of stuff that many people haven't experienced, so it doesn't make you a loser, for sure. Um, but yeah, Ancestor Altar is extremely important. We actually have six altars in our house. Mostly because I'm a Virgo and that's what we do. So we have like our north, south, east, and west, and then we have a central, which plays into my whole dual element thing, which is a whole nother subject. And then we have a separate ancestor altar where we keep like the Lord and Lady, the candles, the some other specific herbs and incenses, and things for remembrance, pictures, um, all kinds of stuff. So actually, if you count the shelf, we have seven because we have one that's dedicated to other religions. Huh, that's a lot. So I don't know if Malice is back or not, but if he is, you
Yes, I
probably
am.
should unmute.
This
Oh,
silent supper thing. Tell me about this. I'm curious because you talked about it a little bit. The
so
the last podcast, but so you said it's not the whole time that you're completely silent.
while you're eating, it is. So like
How it should be,
um
by the way.
yeah, like Lorelai said, a lot of people do it per just one person, and that's completely fine. I mean, it doesn't take a group. We're gonna have I think six or seven people, but there's three parts to it. There's the entrance, which what we're doing is we're having people come through a walkway of fire. So tiki torches to be safe. So as people come into our house, they walk through the fire to let go of the things that hold them back on the way in. In the house, it's more about the music and just kind of hanging out and doing stuff. And we have a little bit of a pre-ritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a start to this silent supper where we will have the food on the table. Everybody will have their place set plus one additional setting for our ancestors that will remain untouched but fully stocked, like fully plated.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will dine and supper at the start of the bell, which we will ring the bell, and we eat in silence. We pass the food around, and then when it's done, everybody gets up as they finish. And then when everybody's done, we go into ritual, which will be another fire cleansing ritual, and probably some guided meditation and some astral walk type stuff, which we've done before as a group. This is actually the group that's most of the people that are coming over, actually all of them I think, are all like the kind of the inner circle-ish. And I hate calling it that because it's not like they're separate or better or anything. It's just a group of people that are a little bit more aligned to this specific type of paganism. And we've done a couple of other additional things than the rest of our group has. So that'll be very interesting. Plus, we need to keep it small because of, COVID and all that crap. But I'm
COVID.
excited. I am very excited. We're actually looking in the thrift stores right now for a table because our kitchen table only seats four, and it has become our workshop table. So now we've got to find an actual table that can seat eight. So we're looking everywhere. I want a thrift store piece of junk that's all beaten up and used, but still standing and strong. That's what I want.
Go big or go home. Get a 16
Hmm.
seater.
You have to have a place to fit that though.
Like I always wanted
We,
one of those to sit at the end in a really
dude,
big fucking chair.
like Rook and I have talked a lot about, and I think we've told, and probably on even on podcast, one of our things that we want to do is we want to open up a shop. But if everything fails and that shop never opens up and we never do any of that thing, I have to have a dining hall. And it has to be set up like the Vikings would. Like it has to be wood barrels to sit. It just has to be an antlered candle, no electricity. It has to be like that's going to be the fill in to fill the
Goddamn
void
right.
of not having the rest of that stuff.
Hell yeah.
We were talking about that yesterday. With Joy came over and I'm like, I've realized yesterday. We've talked about it before. Again, I talk a lot, and we don't really necessarily do a whole lot because of work and busy and stuff. But our decor in our
Decor.
like main living area is like seriously depressing now to me. It was great when we started it, great when we did it. It's nautical. We've got the little boats and all the nautical stuff in there.
Fuck is wrong with
Um,
you?
I like nautical shit.
Well, fuck you. It's disgusting.
I grew up in the water. Your face is disgusting.
Yeah, I know it is, but
Um,
you know.
and shut up. But so it just goes to show that you change, things get different, and then when you look around at the things around you, it's got to fit you. You got to. That's been kind of like the mess and the change that the cards were talking to me about a little bit. Is we need to get our home to where we want it to be, and Rook and I have a very similar idea of that, but we just never acted on it because your house is supposed to look a certain way. Your decor is supposed to be a certain way, and I'm like, let's get out the black paint, the spider webs, and the black roses and put them up.
Yes. Just
We're not
fucking
actually
do
gonna
it.
do black paint, Rook, don't worry. That's not I'm just using it as an example.
Rook, yes, yes, he is. He's lying, Rook. We talked about it earlier. He's all black. Maybe a little, dark gray, but
Like we even I want to get the wall sconces, the oil lamps that are on the walls. I want to have our house set up so that if we turn the power off, the entire house can be fully lit by candle or oil
dude, that's lit.
without having to pull anything out.
That's lit, like literally.
That's the game plan. Like we even talked about our chandelier in our reading room, just taking the bulbs out, cutting the cord, and making it a candle
Do
chandelier.
it. Do it.
We
Well,
probably will.
I mean, potentially at the cost of burning your house down, but go for it.
No,
I'm
well,
just
glad you put that out there.
I mean, the more fire you have, like the higher the probability goes that something's gonna go wrong.
But you don't tell Rook.
You could do kind of like anything that goes towards the ceiling, like battery powered candles. I know they're not the same, but
I I am not making money off of this place, Alchemy and Ashes, but it is a store in Florida, somewhere kind of in the Tampa area. It's maybe a little bit further up. And it is what I want my house to look like. Starting with you walk in and to the left, there's a bowl, like one of those domes. There's
mm-hmm,
a word for it, I can't think of it, that usually has a clock in it,
mm-hmm.
and it's full of baby doll parts.
That's creepy, but I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
I want it.
I know what
That's
you're
what I want
talking
our house
about.
to look like, Rook. Get it working.
Well, so you're just going full on fucking gothic then?
I don't think we're necessarily going full on gothic just because I do not know what the gothic style specifically necessarily is, but
Gothic is anything that is like,
right.
well, put it this way. I don't like using the word dark, but gothic is essentially anything that is darker than a normie would probably accept. Go to your Karen neighbor's house, and the complete opposite of what she's got set up is probably what you'd consider gothic.
Yeah, I know, like, there's an actual like, not specific, but there's a pretty gothic, like, description of certain things,
It
like
depends if you're going Victorian Gothic, if you're going Cyber Gothic,
uh-huh,
if you're going
there
like,
you go.
it depends.
And that's
The
the point.
sound the
Like,
sound of what you're going for is like sounds like not cyber, fucking Christ. It sounds like Victorian. It sounds a bit like Victorian
perhaps,
to me.
perhaps. The
Cyber.
good thing is we don't know what that is. Like, we don't know. So there's no way we can say it is or isn't goth. I just know I have a picture in my head of what I'm kind of wanting to do,
Well,
and we're gonna
as the
start working
channel,
on it.
as the podcast goth, I'll say it sounds goth. It sounds gothic to me. So there you go. Have the gothic stamp of approval. Or like
You haven't seen it yet. It probably will come out really bad. But don't get me started on steampunk. I'm obsessive with steampunk.
yeah, but
Oh,
steampunk. The problem with steampunk is like I think that steampunk is like very intricate and requires like a lot of moving parts in order to actually be steampunk.
it doesn't have to
Um,
move.
okay, it doesn't have to move, but like potentially parts that look like they're gonna fucking move. Uh,
Yes, I have tons of steampunk stuff. We could do a full steampunk room, but I don't want to lock into a single aesthetic. That's why I'm not even willing to say it's goth, because it may have a pink wheel on the wall. I don't know, and I know that's not the only thing that's not. It's pink. It can be goth too. I get that,
yes, Ziggy. There are
especially
so
if it's
many
hot pink.
subgenres of goth. It's ridiculous. There are.
Right, and
It's pastel,
for
like
us,
pastel goth. Pastel goth
yeah,
is another one that always fucking grinded my gears, but it's still a subgenre of goth.
yeah. So I mean, for us, it's less about making it goth and more about let's just do what we want to do and what looks right and feels right and let it see what happens. You know, and that's the
Unexplained.
game
You,
plan.
you got me in the background. Like, so what's going on in the foreground? That's what I want to know. So you got me in the
Mm.
background. What's going on in the foreground?
Hmm.
Is it hot and sexy like?
So if there's foreplay, is there back play? I was gonna say
Right.
something. Oh, I forgot to mention other thing that's going on in life that was really cool. We've been getting. I'm not a super crafty person. I'm very good with my hands.
Of
Um,
that, I'm sure.
but I'm not always very crafty at making certain things. Like, I just don't have the patience for it. But we've been kind of forcing ourselves to do it with the scrying mirrors and all the other stuff. I still have to finish my bag, but we worked with Joy and made well, really got made cloaks, like full on handmade and sewn cloaks. Freaking amazing. Like, so excited about that. She brought him over last night. That's why she came over. And then now we're going to do Jedi cloaks or robes
Awesome.
next.
So, hold on a second. All right. Call of Gaming 2099.
What I meant.
First and foremost, I'm a philosophical Satanist. You all keep missing that part of it. You only focus on the Satanist part and you can't get past it, which is absolutely hilarious to me. I'm a philosophical Satanist, which means that I look at the Satanic Bible as a book of philosophy, not a theistic tome to be taken literally. And furthermore, my opinion on Baal, I don't have one. So, take from that what you will. I mean, I used to have a community called Baal. I still run a clothing line called Baal Clothing, but don't really have an opinion. So
Is not ball also a term like for a generic, like a almost not pronoun, but doesn't it mean Lord? Like, isn't there a
there's
separate
a
meaning?
translation. There is a translation. I think it's from
I don't know much about it.
Aramaic. The Aramaic translation kind of translates to Baal or Lord, but like I mean, it's loosely translated. So I mean, and I'm not trying to shoot you down or anything. It's just I just don't have an opinion. It's like what anybody wants to like. I'm what anybody wants to worship, follow, or do rituals to is up to them. And you know what? The only thing I ask is to be accepted for what I believe in, as the same way that I accept other people for what they believe in. Unless, of course, your beliefs directly contradict or go against, not contradict, but directly go against my beliefs in such a way that you decide to say that, well, hey, you deserve to die, right? So, like, once your opinions reach that point, then I take issue. But beyond that, you know, as I always say, you do you, boo.
Yeah, and we practice completely different too, so there you go.
You go, yeah. Like, I mean, he's not left-hand path by any means of the imagination, at least, I mean, from my, like, what I see, nor is Rook. You know, though Rook does seem like he's interested in the left-hand path, but, you know, I'm probably too drunk to be talking about that, so we're not going to go into that conversation. But what we are going to go into is the meat of the topic of the evening, which is, sad to say, not a happy topic, but a topic I think that we should talk about. So I shared this with, Mystic is closing his eyes because he's like, I need to get ready for this. Because the bomb is going to drop. So as some of you may know, I'm a registered minister through the Universal Life Church. At least I think that's what the fuck it's called.
Same.
And I got an email from them, and they're like, generally speaking, like I have a tendency of ignoring their emails because it's filled with such fucking bullshit and malarkey that it's just kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna leave that alone, you know.
Just say malarkey.
I did say malarkey.
Dude, have another. Malarkey, man. Toodle. Sorry.
Toodle.
I should be making jokes about as we get into this particular topic, but
yeah, probably not.
We're gonna need a joke or two.
Yeah, we are gonna need a joke or two because this is definitely not something that this isn't a light topic. This is not a light topic. So I'm actually gonna open this up here. I'm gonna pull up the fucking thing here. So so from the Universal Life Church Monastery. God, it's such a fucking
I like the word monastery, I'll be honest.
I mean, it's word
one of the
itself
ones that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, but
doesn't
still
scream Christian to me, which that one scares me more. Not that it's any problem to be that way, but it's just been my source of trouble.
So,
whatever the trouble is.
But this came out. This was posted on October 8th, 2021. Now, the writer of this, I honestly don't know because it doesn't seem like the writer is mentioned. Who the writer was. So we can't hold anybody accountable if there's any missteps in information here. But I don't think that there are. So, Dark Secrets. Inquiry reveals 330,000 French children abused by clergy. Okay, Mystic, are you still with us?
Why wouldn't I be? Did I disappear?
You are totally fucking frozen on the stream. Okay, so apparently I can't put anything full screen, otherwise your ass freezes.
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I was actually just Googling it to see if there's other
sources.
Yeah.
So
and there is.
Okay, good.
I've got at least 10 already.
Okay, so yeah, Dark Secrets inquiry reveals 330,000. Let me repeat that number. 330,000 French children abused by clergy. Okay, now grant you, this is, from my understanding, goes from 1950 to now. But we're still talking about, so if we do 1950 to now, right? So we do 2021, do that 1950, and I just completely fucked that up. Wow, god damn it, man. I'm horrible with fucking math. Okay, there we go. 71 years, right? 71 years, right? So within one generation of people, right? Creeping into two. Okay. So if we do that, and I'm curious, I'm curious to see how many we're talking about per year here. So We're literally talking. We're talking 4,647 children a year. And just for argument's sake, let's just kind of round that up. Let's just round it up because it does give me a decimal. So that's 4,650 children a year, roughly.
And is that a France study, or is it a study of people in France? Because those are two completely different things. That's one country. That's even worse.
So it says here, after thousands of interviews with witnesses and victims, the 2,500-page report estimates that since 1950, at least 216,000 children were abused by the Catholic leadership. The number rises to an even more astonishing 330,000 when accounting for abuse committed at Catholic schools. The independent commission was set up by Bishops' Conference of France, which estimates that the abuse was committed by roughly 3,000 clergy members over 70 years. Victims and advocates say that the report is long overdue and are demanding accountability for the unspeakable crimes. How is the church responding? Probably not, but let's find out. The Vatican's statement said Pope Francis felt pain upon hearing the report's findings. It explained that the pontiff is praying for the victims and their wounds. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. As a
Intermission.
victim, fuck you and your fucking prayers. Like, seriously. Fucking Jesus. Like, yeah, 330,000 fucking, fucking kids are fucking abused, and like, oh, I'm praying. Fuck you and your fucking prayers, you fucking cock. All right, praying for the victims and their wounds, and praises the courage to speak out. His thoughts also turn to the church in France, and that in recognizing these terrible events and united by the suffering of the Lord for his most vulnerable children, it can take the path of redemption. It's always redemption. It's always a redeemable act. I'm fucked up for the rest of my goddamn life, but hey, it's a redeemable act. You can be redeemed. Just accept Jesus into your life. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was a
take
bad
his
joke I was getting ready to say. I'll leave it.
and take his entire cock.
Oh, well, then I could have said it. But it's not funny now.
Well, I mean, it still kind of is.
No, what I was going to say is not funny now.
Oh, okay.
Your comment wins. It's way gayer than what I was going to say.
Oh, that was way gayer? My comment was gayer than the gay man?
Uh-huh. Poor thing.
Well, it is what it is. Victims are now wondering just what kind of redemption the church hopes to seek. The commission called for financial compensation for victims, but it seems the church is instead offering thoughts and prayers. So, chat, I know you can't see it on my face, but you have no idea how much this fucking enrages me.
Yep.
Thoughts and fuck. I'm going to say it right now. To the motherfucker that has the fucking balls to burn the Vatican to the fucking ground, all right? You deserve a fucking compensation. Just burn it to the fucking ground. By the way, there's a high probability that this video is now going to get banned. Possibly me. And any hopes of monetization just went out the window.
The comments of the original host does not necessarily reflect the thoughts and comments of the co-hosts. Feel better now?
Right?
I mean, that's insane because, thoughts and prayers fix everything.
So by his prayers, the Pope entrusts the people of God who are in France, especially the victims, to the Lord so that he may grant them comfort and the miracle of healing with justice, said the Holy See Press office. You've got to be fucking kidding me. So I wanted to give you guys a live reaction to this, and this is me live reacting to this. Critics accuse the church of trying to buy off victims cheaply in case the statute of limitations on childhood abuses is later. As one lawyer representing abuse victims stated, it is like trying to put a Band-Aid on a situation that requires major surgery. I 100% and wholly agree. The ultimate betrayal. Victims were treated with a deep, total, and even cruel indifference. The Jean-Marc Sauvé, who spearheaded the inquiry. So there you go. So whoever asked, like, who did the inquiry, there you go. That's the person that fucking spearheaded the inquiry. Jean-Marc Sauvé. There was a whole bunch of negligence, of deficiency, of silence, and institutional cover-up. The Catholic Church is responsible for a betrayal of trust, betrayal of morale, betrayal of children, stated Francis Devoe, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because I don't speak fucking French.
Francois Devoe.
There you go. Thank you. I'm going to end up throwing this in.
I'm just making it up too.
Oh, okay. Well, go fuck yourself.
I think the little C with a tail is Swa.
Swa?
I have no idea.
All right, I'm trying to find
like Franco is to me.
Here's the chat. I'm going to throw it in the chat. There it is, right there.
Francois Devoe or Francois Diviax.
I don't know. It's in the fucking chat. The founder of the Victims' Rights Organization in France. Tragically, many of these crimes are either beyond the statute of limitations or the abuser is now dead. Out of hundreds of thousands of cases, only 22 are eligible to be prosecuted. So I personally believe that child abuse should not have a statute of limitations. Because a child is not mentally capable of pressing charges against their abuser at the time of when the abuse happens. So therefore, there should not be, just like murder, there should not be a statute of limitations, at least within the United States, and I think everywhere in the world. I don't think that there should be a statute of limitations for child abuse. I think if you abuse a child, you should be subject to prosecution for the entirety of your life.
The crime against humanity. There's no way it should. I don't want to say whether something is worse than something else, but that's worse than murder to me in some cases, many cases, if that.
Well, it is, because like if you murder somebody, you end their life and they no longer have to suffer. But if you do something like this, they have to suffer their entire life with the trauma of that thing happening.
Yeah.
So therefore you should be subject to suffer for the rest of your fucking life with it. And depending on the type of abuse that happens, I wouldn't be against the death penalty being on the table. Because for those of you that don't realize, let me explain something about the death penalty. So a lot of people are against the death penalty simply for the fact that, well, they're not suffering, they're going to die. Well, here's the thing with the death penalty. When you get prosecuted and convicted and you get sentenced to death, your death does not come quickly. You get to sit on death row for however long or how many years it takes for them to get to you, to kill you, which means, and you don't know exactly when that's going to happen. You've been sentenced to death. So you could die tomorrow. You could die 5 years from now. You could die 5 days from now. You could die 50 years from now, right? You don't know when you're going to die, but you know it's coming. There is no other greater satisfaction than knowing that the person that took your life away from you is sitting in perpetual fear of when the end of their life is going to come. So, what's Julian saying here? It's like, I like how they came up with the commission.
This is what made me chuckle. I wasn't laughing at you, I promise.
45 recommendations about how to prevent abuse. Like, you need 45 recommendations to not. Right? Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Thank you. But can we change the R word to the A word? Please and thank you.
Oh yeah, you can edit your comment, can't you?
I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, can we do that, please? Like, just let's not use the R word in here.
Well, at least you have evidence that it's not in a. I mean, Autobot will still kick it, but it's a fightable. But it's the truth, and that's the sad part.
I agree, Jurian. Just let's switch. That one word. That's it. No, it's all good. It's all good. It's shit that you're gonna learn in time going through the process. Like, I get you.
I'm not upset. I'll be honest though. From YouTube standpoint, I get why it can't be in there, but that's the way the message should read. I mean that's the message. Truly,
it is.
Crazy.
All right. Tragically, let's see. Many of these crimes, because legal recourse is out of reach for most of the victims, many are seeking compensation from the Catholic Church. One 73-year-old victim named Martine told AP, assuming is that Alternative Press, AP?
I'm sure.
Okay, that the money is symbolic and punitive. It won't fix things, but it means it will also cost them something. Yeah, well, I mean, the church fucking takes on how much money a year? Can somebody look up that statistic, please? Can somebody please actually look up that statistic? How much money does the church actually rake in a year tax-free? Can somebody please look that up? Like specifically
more than anything you'll ever find.
Like the Catholic Church? Like the Catholic Church, how much money do they actually rake in tax-free a fucking year overall? The commission itself is calling on the church to offer financial compensation to the victims. But whether that will actually happen remains to be seen, especially given the church's shaky record of making amends for past abuse. What is your reaction?
Who wants a drink?
Did he just say who wants a drink?
I've been asking.
I'm actually going to look in this. I'm going to look this up.
I will absolutely care for Ma Petite even though she left me to come to you.
Well, I'm her dad.
She still loves me more. And that's proven because I kiss her heart every day. I think Catholic abuse of children is ridiculous. It shouldn't happen. Damn it.
So apparently, I think this is like under, like, I don't think this is accurate. They're worth $5.6 billion. Yeah, probably more. They're just not reporting everything. The bank, their bank, they have their own bank, reported a profit of $19.8 million in 2018 and $36 million in 2017.
That's insane.
You guys want to cure hunger, like world hunger? You want to help like the process of cures in the world? Tax the fucking church. Like, I mean, tax the rich too, but I mean, tax the fucking church.
Yeah, it's
like nobody talks about that. Nobody says tax religion. Why should religion be tax-free? Why?
It shouldn't.
Like, what makes religion so fucking special that it needs to be tax-free? You want to fucking solve hunger? Tax religion.
Seriously.
Would it make me feel better? Fuck no. Stabbing him in the fucking face would make me feel better. That's what would make me feel better. I don't need fucking money to make me feel better. Stabbing all of them in the fucking face because there's multiple. Like if I knew that legally I could stab them in the face and I wouldn't have to fucking deal with any consequences, oh, I most definitely would. It would be fucking it would be Hostile, the real game.
Well, I can speculate. I feel like I've read somewhere and or learned somewhere that the whole purpose of the church not being taxed was in a time when churches were the central social hub of a small community or village, which makes sense, but that's not what it is anymore. You know what I mean? It does not make sense anymore. So same thing for marriage. Why the hell does government have to be involved in marriage, period, anyway? It has nothing to do with the government, except for there was a benefit for the government to have people married for the family unit, supposedly. So all these false things that have been put into place that don't even exist unless you make them is the same thing for the church. The same thing.
Hush money, is that a thing in religion? Probably, but it's more likely like they love the fact that like all they have to do is tell you that you're going to go to hell if you say anything, and you're scared shitless enough that you just won't. And that's the problem with religion, because religion, especially Catholicism and Christianity at large, is completely based off of the fact that you feel guilty for being a human being, and that any actual carnal desire that you have, like whether that be overeating, over-sexualization, or whatever, is treated as a sin, and you're made to feel guilty for it, right? Now, are there absolutes? Of course there are absolutes. We're talking about an absolute. We're talking about an exception of where, like, you know, a desire of the flesh should be ignored. A child should never be a desire of your flesh. And if you desire a child, hope and pray I never find out. Because you'd be lucky if the legal system got to you before I did.
These topics to me are always the hardest because they seem so like, murder's bad, right? And I'm very generic here, obviously, because we've had this conversation, but murder's bad.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, great self-defense. Yeah, the definition of murder, sure, but legally, we can agree murder's bad. We can also agree that assaulting children and all of the things that go along with that is also bad. And because those things, to me, like a lot of things that get me in trouble at work, seem so incredibly obvious, it's so hard for me to really think about having a conversation about it, because it's like when somebody at work asked me a question. There are no dumb questions. How do you turn on the computer? Press the power button. Don't diddle children, and don't murder people because you don't like them.
I don't like that
And
word. I don't like diddled. I don't like that word. I don't know why. I just don't.
There's 1,000 words that can be placed and put there, but
Yes,
that one won't get you banned. But seriously, it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, look, I know that I'm saying very aggressive things here. I know that. But you know, I'm speaking from a place where I had to suffer through various different, you know, levels of abuse and things like that. And the fact that, you know, 330, like they're just figuring out now, 71 years later, 71 years later.
It,
yeah.
getting caught.
Like you're talking like almost a century later. Like let that sink in for a second. Almost an entire century later. They're just starting to kind of talk about what was going. You're going to sit there and tell me that in 71 years, the heads of the church didn't know what was going. Of course, they knew what the fuck was going on. They always know
They
what's
admitted
going
it.
on. They always know what's going on, and like just like what Mystic said, they admitted it.
The first time when this first came out, well, not first came out, but I remember probably 10 years ago, this was in the news again, and it was like they literally had written into their process for when identified abuse of children, they move them to a new parish.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's written in the guideline. I'm like, that's like
And
saying,
that's
hey,
to and that's to
bring your
avoid prosecution.
yeah, bring your cancer to me so that I can give it to everybody else. It makes no sense at all. Like I don't know.
Well, because the thing is the idea that they're going off of is to avoid prosecution at all costs. Because if the church becomes legally liable, which they should be legally liable. Okay, because you're talking about an institution that societally, like we look at it, like we grew up with our parents, most of our parents telling us to trust this institution and trust the people in the institution, that these people will not hurt you. And now we're starting to see, like, I mean, we're starting to see it before, but the absolute grandiose scale of the fact that you can't trust a priest. You can't. If you are a parent and you leave your child alone with a priest, you are a piece of shit parent. You are a piece of shit parent. Okay? Say what you want to say. At me if you want to. But if you are a parent and you deem it acceptable to leave your child alone with a clergy member, you are a horrible parent. You really are. Because that means you are ignoring the facts of what is actually happening. It's sad and it's disgusting. Now, we've talked about the problem. Let's actually discuss actual potential solutions. We know what the problem is. We know where the problem comes from. I personally believe the problem comes from the fact that, one, starting out, the Catholic Church has a rule where, you can't have a family, you can't have sexual intercourse, you can't do these things. So you are forcing yourself to deny your natural human instinctive desires. So that's the first thing, right? Second thing, that shows, by what we're seeing, that shows that promise doesn't work. It doesn't function in any society, past or present, and it won't function in any future society. So the rule of abstinence is just, it's just not, it's not a realistic thing. Okay. And, I think that the first step would be to change that rule, allow a priest to have a family, okay? Allow them to get married, right? Allow them to, like according to their Bible, enjoy the thing that is sacred to them, right? The same thing with nuns. Right, because we're looking at everything that kind of happens like with priests, and I'm curious to see if anything has ever happened with a nun. Like I highly doubt that it's going to be at the gravity or the level that priests are, but I'm curious.
That's physical abuse.
Mm-hmm. Like exactly, kind of like the more aggressive kind of, beating the shit out of you kind of thing. Like here's a yardstick and I'm going to crack it over your fucking skull, kind of thing. So I'm curious to actually look at that aspect of things as well, which is something that's just generally not spoken about. So I'm just curious. And honestly, like, if you want my full honest opinion, I honestly think that it's time we dismantle the church. It is an archaic, old-time ideology that no longer functions in a modern society. And I personally feel that, like, you can believe in God if you so wish, but I think the concept or idea of an organized church with their little fucking, 90-year-old president that everybody freaks out when he looks like he's getting sick and ready to die. It's like, I love the fact, because I remember my grandmother watching the Pope on TV, and when they were talking about the Pope being sick and things like that, she would automatically start talking about, oh, the end of the world is coming, the Pope is sick. It's like, he's an 85-year-old man. Like, do you expect the motherfucker to live forever? He's going to fucking die. He's going to die. It doesn't signify the end of the fucking world.
Just random search with a 2019 article inside the horrifying unspoken world of sexually abusive nuns.
Oh, really?
So, another one, complaints of sex abuse by nuns begin to emerge. Nuns, girl with crucifixes. Nuns abused me. Women abused by nuns start to speak up.
So there are reports.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. And that, granted, 2019, 2012, and 2006 are the dates, but it's not even like anyway.
No, keep going. No, we're on the topic. Talk about it.
No. It just isn't. It's not. I mean, I'll say it. It just isn't. Yeah. So take out the religion part. The religious group is responsible for setting the unattainable standard of people who are not psychologically prepared or ready to do the things that they're asking to do. These aren't like, the 1,000 Tibetan monks who've devoted their lives to celibacy. That's different, right? These are people that have done whatever. That I can't explain it because I don't know enough about it. But this is the church's, to me, responsibility of, if you have an organization, then you have to manage that organization. But you take the organization out, the people are still there to abuse. Obviously, I agree with you. I think it would be a shit ton less if you don't. It's just like setting somebody up for failure in anything. And not to say that that's a failure that, I don't know how to explain it properly. It's just that churches have to go away.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, it's not the one. It's not that to me, it's not that the churches cause abstinence or not marrying. It's not that the churches abuse people, because they abuse boys and girls, anybody that walks. And it's not that people are abusive because they're in religion. It's all of those things when you put them into the same bucket and mix it up, that this is what you get. And they get away with it because the organization protects them. If the organization didn't protect them, I don't know how many probably wouldn't have been abused, but a lot of them.
They're not afraid of repercussion. They're not afraid of repercussions.
This could have been stopped, and it could have been much less. Now, there's always going to be abusers. There's always going to be people that do that kind of thing. That's, I don't think it'll ever go away. But it's
and then you look at
by your organization.
And then you have to look at the statute of limitations. Like, if we sit there and look at the statute of limitations, the legal system provides, at least in France, in this particular case, we're talking about 3,000 clergy members that are guilty of committing abuse against children, adding up to 330,000 children over the last 71 years. And out of 3,000 clergy members, only 22 are actually eligible for prosecution. Like, what the fuck? And I'm sorry, yes, I believe that in cases like this, the organization should be held accountable because they're the ones setting the goddamn guidelines. They're the ones that are sitting there saying that they want to protect these people and move them to different parishes where the legal systems of where they committed the crimes cannot touch them.
My theory on obviously is not Christian, but my theory on God, goddess, universe, source, all of that energy, the whole 9 yards is, and this to me would include if you believe in a singular, solitary God, Christian God, Catholic God, God died on the cross, resurrected, kind of sounds pagan to me, but I'm just saying, um, you know, it's not God who delivers you from your problems. It's you through your spirituality. We don't, um, it reminds me of when people say, my life is in shambles and my husband left me and everything's gone. And I'm good now because it's all in God's hands. No, ma'am, it's in your hands. You are the reason he left because you tried to stab him and cut his stuff off. Whatever. I'm just, being
Right.
exaggeratory, but it's like I've never understood why you would put something in somebody else's hand. I like the idea. I've said before, I don't believe Caradwyn is sitting in the sky bubbling a cauldron, but I do believe in the essence of Caradwyn as a goddess. And I certainly believe if I told her to help me not whatever word you want to insert a child because I can't control myself, I'm pretty sure she's gonna look at me and say, "Okay, nobody can help you. That's not my job. I'm not gonna do that. You control that." And when you throw in the ability to say, "Oh, I'm going to be redeemed because I will ask for forgiveness and everything will be forgiven," it's like you don't have to take responsibility for it. So you do you uninhibit yourself to a degree
Mm-hmm.
where you, I think, lose sight of what is right and what is wrong. I think um the best way to describe or explain to somebody what psychosis is a clergyman or somebody woman, clergy person, or somebody of power who abuses that power to anybody, let alone a child. That is psychosis. Because you don't have to be responsible for any of your actions because God will forgive you. And if God is going to forgive you, then your religion, the organization of which you are a part of that prays and worships to that God, is your salvation. Therefore, they are going to move you around, obviously for legal and financial reasons, but because God forgives you, because you ask for forgiveness. Oh, I did it again. I'm so sorry. I just am a weak human flesh. God, I hope I'm stronger and move me to another parish so I can do it all over again, knowing full well that it's their decision to do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
So I have a question for you. Okay, so there's a group that I can't seem to find the correct acronym for them. But they call them, I think they call themselves MAPS or NAPS, which are basically non-active pedophiles. Right?
Never heard of it, but okay.
Now, they're trying to include themselves into the LGBT community. I
Okay.
can't comment on that because I'm not LGBT. What's your stance on the idea?
I can't comment either because I'm not LGBT. I'm only G, and they can't come to the G.
They can't come to the
So
G.
I do think, just with what I know, I do think that if somebody feels that they don't have or they have something that they can't control and they're willing to admit it and seek help for it and have treatment for it and not act on it, I do think that speaks to them as an individual trying to not do a bad thing. I don't understand it enough. I don't know enough about the psychology of it. I've never studied it.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
So
know if
sorry
I
to
don't know
cut you
how that
off.
works. Yeah,
So
no, it's no
MAP,
worries.
MAP, the acronym, what it stands for. I just found it. This is disgusting, in my opinion. So a MAP is a minor attracted person.
Never heard of it.
That's what it is. It is an umbrella term for people who have a condition that means that they are sexually attracted to minors, those below the age of consent, including, let's see, we've got pedophilia, which is an attraction of prepubescent children, hebephilia, an attraction to pubescent children, nearly adolescents, and ephebophilia, attraction to late adolescents. So I didn't realize that there were 3 stages of this shit. I would just call them all pedophiles, but I mean that's just me. God,
Well, I mean, I can tell you that for a long time,
YouTube is gonna hate this fucking episode.
Well, for a long time, people have associated me with being a child molester because of their belief that being gay was something along that type of not paraphilia. It's not the right word for it. I can't think of the word for it, but anyway, so for a long time, that was my grandmother's biggest concern. Oh, does that mean you're a pedophile? No, I like big and hair. No, I'm just kidding. But the whole idea behind it is, what differentiates somebody that would associate them as having a sexual attraction to a child or to a door, and this is the argument. I'm not agreeing with it. Just in case YouTube's watching, of course, or attracted to I don't know, a tree, right? So if somebody comes out and says, I'm sexually attracted to this tree and I need help, how does somebody manage that? A tree, well, maybe that is pretty embarrassing for the tree, but but where is the moment that somebody says that, it's one thing to be a pedophile who goes out and abuses children versus it's somebody who has pedophilia as a mental disorder, perhaps, that is not abusing or hasn't abused somebody and is seeking a treatment. I don't understand any of it because I don't know how it's possible. But the same argument can be made that I don't understand how it's possible to be attracted to a woman. I don't. It just isn't there, so I don't speak on it. So I can speak on that if you act against an urge to murder somebody or to sexually assault somebody, whether it's an adult or a minor, or sexually assault a minor, that you have chosen to make that decision and you should burn in hell for it if you believe in hell or whatever the response is. And there has to be something to stop that. But I don't understand. I don't know how to separate all of those things individually. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I know why earlier on in all this shit, people thought that being gay meant being a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it, but I don't know why.
That's good, because that might be a friend stopper.
You should already know, like, off the top of your head that I don't agree with it. Just because I know why somebody said something doesn't mean I agree with why they said it. So, the reason why, which is a very ignorant thing, is because at the time, the type of sexual abuse or that was being talked about against minors was older men to younger boys.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big focus. And people got the idea in their head that, well, if you're gay, right, there must not be a lot of gay people in the world, so you can't find a partner, so you're going to go for a kid, which is completely ignorant. We're talking like 1950s logic here, people. Okay, like, so let's put that banner out there right now. We're talking, 1950s prior type logic. Okay. So that's where the association was created and where the association kind of kept up. And we're talking about a time in history where when, sexual abuse would happen to a young girl, that generally speaking, it was committed by somebody that was heavily protected by money. I mean, these stories that we see in movies happen for a reason. They come from somewhere, right? Right? They're not stories like these things that we see in movies and books and things like that. They're not just not somebody just pulling it out of their ass, right? You know, a very famous local football player, you know, sexually abuses a minor in his underclass, and then daddy pulls him out of the fucking fire because he has enough money to throw around that people are afraid of him, right? These things have actually happened. Because nobody wants to look at, you know, that at the time, nobody wanted to look at those types of actions as necessarily bad, even though they're very, very fucking bad. But that's where the idea came from, because we get cover-ups on one side and an extreme blow-up on the other. That's what's happening. So that's happening on both sides of the spectrum, but the one that was getting all the media focus was older men, younger boys, right? And nobody looked at, you know, what was happening from older men to younger girls or older women to younger boys. Those weren't the heterosexual abuses weren't being focused on as much as the potentially labeled homosexual abuses or pedophile abuses in this case.
Yeah,
So
they were all considered the same mental disorder
exactly.
at the time.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
it wasn't
I know.
that was the imbalance, and that was where people started jumping to fucking conclusions like, "Oh, if you're gay, well, you like to fuck children." It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, goddamn idiot?
Understatement.
You know. So, but so that is, you know, that is where that came from, right? And if anyone in here agrees with that, get the fuck out of my goddamn chat, you piece of shit. So, bad translation into English, actually. I have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway,
the title that he was talking about, the party for charity, I think.
So the point that I'm trying to make, the point here, we need to come up with solutions on how to stop this, because this is starting to get ridiculous. I mean, it's not starting to get ridiculous. It has been fucking ridiculous. It has been absolutely fucking insane. Absolutely insane. We need to come up with solutions. We need to stop just bitching about it and actually come up with solutions. And I'm sorry, like, my first and primary solution is actually to dismantle the church. Like, that is, like, stop giving it as much power as it has.
You know that's never going to happen.
It has to at some point, man.
Yeah, when the fire and brimstone comes.
Which will never happen.
Exactly. It makes too much money.
Well, we do live in a consumer-based society, right? And within a consumer-based society, the church is making so much money because of you listening to this. If you still go to church, if you still put money in the little plate that goes by because you think it goes to charity, it goes to these motherfuckers' legal defenses is where it goes. So when you go to church,
not all churches, but yes,
let's just say all Catholic churches. So tomorrow, or today, if you're listening to it today on Sunday, when you go to church, do me a favor. Remember this story, remember what we're talking about, and think twice before you put that $100 bill into the collection plate when it passes in front of you. Because I promise you, that $100 bill would work so much better for Toys for Tots than it would be in the church's possession. How about you be a decent human being for a change and actually think about another human being instead of thinking about yourself, because you know that the reason that you put that $100 bill into the collection plate every Sunday is because you want to feel righteous. You want to feel like you're doing something better for humanity. Let me tell you something. You're not being better for humanity. You're not helping the world. You're making it worse because you are paying for the legal defenses of people that abused hundreds of thousands of children and will continue to do so because the Vatican and the Church refuse to take any responsibility for the actions that they are taking. So if you really want to be a good person, if you really want to feel good inside, don't put the money in the fucking plate. And better yet, don't show up tomorrow. Stay home with your family instead of going to a fucking fashion show to see who has the better suit and better dress on Sunday.
Get them hats.
Right? So actually think about what it is that you're fucking doing. Because you're not giving to charity. Giving to the church, and the church dictates where it goes. You want to know where it's going? Like I said, legal defenses. Moving fees.
Very true.
For people that are abusing children. That's what you're paying for. That's what you're paying for.
Very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
It is. I was just say I waited. I said a lot before eating that chip. That was a very good chip.
It's always good when you have to wait for it, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. It makes it more passionate. It was a very passionate chewing.
I will say, the laws are dumb. The idea that many things have occurred is dumb. All of it is dumb. I think Catholic and most Christian churches are dumb. That's my personal opinion. I don't think necessarily every Christian person is dumb. I just think that organization and the way that the churches are set up is in most cases. But when it comes down to it, I will at least say there should be some credit given to the people who are pushing to try to make a difference, even if it's not going to make a difference. You know what I mean? So it's so.
You want to eat?
I have a.
As he whips out the Louisiana sausage.
This looks very bad, doesn't it? Hold on a second. Oh goodness!
Get it all in.
There it is.
Oh my God, rat dog.
She's got to have her medicine. She gets heart medicine twice a day, bacon flavored.
It's all good, Evildoer. Welcome. We are still in the middle of a conversation about 330,000 children being abused by the Catholic Church from 1950 to today.
I just don't like the thing that pisses you off about it is you don't need church or God to tell you that that's wrong.
Exactly.
That's what pisses you off. Because
Evil,
it's like
if you want to jump in, let me know. Sorry, because I wanted Evil in on this because Evil's got great opinions on this shit, and like I think you'd love his fucking thoughts.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like you think I'm not saying anything that nobody isn't thinking or doesn't know, but it's like what Jurian said earlier. You don't need 45 recommendations to know not to do that. It's just it is the dumbest it's just dumb. There's no way to properly word it to say that something has to change, but we know what has to change and that's not going to change. So what do you do next? You know, what's the next step?
We are in Discord. Let me pull you in. 1 second. Let me pull him in real quick.
Right. We are the Dick Sword.
We are, but we're in a call, so I'm just gonna pull you in over here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Trust me, you want to hear what the fuck you. Evil, are you not my friend? Why are you not my friend, man?
Smart.
I add him. The friend now. He's a friend. I'm drunk, people, so stop. Don't give me shit.
You're drunk.
Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to have you both in here on this one, and I'm just going to kind of like edit the size of this. Evil, can we hear you?
Can.
Yes, we can. All right, good. Good.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really get into it too much. I got a kid sitting behind me, as you can see, playing Xbox.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all
Smart
good.
kid.
But I mean, I just wanted to hear what you got to say on it because, you know, like I know that like you and I have talked about this before in previous podcasts and, you know, conversations and things like that. But, you know, I would really like to hear you kind of like, you know.
So I suppose probably the first thing that needs to be said to clarify for most people, I mean, a lot of people already know this, but the Catholic Church as an entity is a law unto themselves and have been for generations. The church was created to instill fear in people, to control people, and they put these men and later on women in positions of power. And a lot of these men weren't very nice men, quite clearly, as this investigation has shown, that this position of power puts them in a place where children, the most vulnerable of us, trust them and will do almost everything that they ask implicitly and without question. That's the issue here, is that our children believe that they're safe with these people because they are priests, pastors, whatever you want to call them, which is absolutely scary to think that these kids feel that they're safe, and we all know that they're not. And it's not just the French. It's happened in England, it's happened in the USA, it's happened in almost every country where the Catholic Church has a presence.
Which is a lot of places.
You can trace history back, and it all comes out. We had the same thing here in New Zealand in the 30s and 40s, where obviously numbers being a lot different, a lot less population here, but same sort of thing. Investigations showed that well over 10,000 kids had been abused within the Catholic Church in New Zealand. We only have a 5 million population at this point in time. So 10,000 out of 5 million is still a huge number. 1 out of 5 million is too much, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So when you look at those numbers, it's scary, and while it doesn't surprise me, when you sent me that message on Discord, I honestly looked at it and didn't even bat an eyelid because it did not surprise me in the slightest. And I think that's a scary thing that doesn't surprise people like us, because this is what we see and hear. It's been around for generations and it's still around, even today.
No, exactly. No, 100%. And I mean, so I have to ask, Evil, like, what is your? So I read the article earlier. So apparently, the Pope, the current Pope, this is what he's offering for the victims. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
I literally LOL'd. I laughed out loud when I read that. It's like, okay, so you're offering your thoughts and prayers. What the fuck is that going to do for these kids?
Well,
what are your words
in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, what are your words and your thoughts going to do for these kids? For the kids' families, for the trauma, the ongoing effect of these situations that's going to go on for the next 50, 60, 70 years. Because it's not just the effect on the individual at that time, it's an ongoing effect. It's a flow-on effect. Those of you in the chat and out there in the world that have been the object of abuse, you know full well the ongoing effect of this. It doesn't just stop there. It stays with you. It never goes away. So 330,000 kids now have to deal with that for the remainder of their lives. It's absolute bullshit.
Yeah, and another thing is like in the article we're talking about, you know, from like 1950 to now. So we're talking about, some of these people are, older. They're in their 60s, they're in their 70s,
Hmm.
But what about the ones that just happened? Because if you're talking about 3,000 clergy members over 71 years abusing kids, there have got to be children that are still under the age of 18 currently, right now, within this particular investigation, not to mention globally, that are dealing with this.
100%.
Those are probably the only ones that can be prosecuted. The 22.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And that number is astounding to me. Like that is absolutely astounding to me within the legality of it. That out of 3,000 clergy members that abused 330,000 children, only 22 out of 3,000 can actually be prosecuted. Like, I mean, grant you, some of them are dead, but still.
Still, though, I mean, that percentage just doesn't sit well with me at all.
I mean, that's so 22 cases can be prosecuted if there's 330,000. That's like 0.00003%.
Yeah, it's less than half, or like a
Something's
third of a
wrong.
percent. It's just it doesn't make me feel comfortable, and it just doesn't sit well with me, those kind of numbers, because that is absolutely wrong. And the worst part about it is you got the Pope sitting up there offering his thoughts and prayers, but they're still not going to do anything about it.
Nope. If anything,
And
the ones the 22 that are going to be prosecuted, they're going to move them to a different parish where they can't be prosecuted.
Yep. Or they'll move them back to the Vatican where they fall under their own laws anyway, and they won't be prosecuted. And this is a thing I don't think a lot of people seem to understand. The Vatican is its own country; it has its own laws.
Yep.
The Church is bound by their own laws and everything, and no one else can touch them. Non-extradition. They can't be extradited if they move them back to Vatican, and nothing will happen. That's the problem here.
It is. And the fact that the Vatican has been accepted as that in Rome, that Rome has accepted that for so long and hasn't changed that they allow the Vatican to sit there in Rome untouched, and unpersecuted. It's like, and it is quite literally what Evil is saying. It is in a completely different country. When you go into, like, if you go to a visit to Rome and then you go into the Vatican, you are no longer subject to the laws of Rome. You are subject to the laws of the
Vatican.
Exactly.
And they're a lot stricter than the laws of Rome, believe you me.
They are. Oh, I mean, well, well, kind of. Unless, of course, you're abusing children and you're a clergyman.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, unless you're a member of the elite clergy, of course, then those laws are a little more relaxed. But for general public, the laws in Vatican are very, very strict.
Mm-hmm. Like, there are certain areas.
I was just reading your chat. I'm sorry, I had to giggle at this. I'm telling my bank I'm not paying my mortgage in dollars, but in thoughts and prayers from now on. That just caught my eye. That was great.
That's good. That is good. That is good.
Let's see how quickly they repossess that house.
Exactly right. But yeah, I mean, and I think the biggest issue is that this has been going on for generations and generations. And you can trace all this shit right back to the foundations of the Catholic Church, right back before Christ. It's just organized religion in general, but the Catholic Church specifically have this air of power. They have this thing that they are the be-all and end-all of everything, and nothing can touch them. And for all intents and purposes, they're not actually far wrong.
They're not.
I mean, they may make an example out of a few of these guys, but the bulk of them won't even face trial.
No, I mean, the Catholic Church is like, so Catholicism, apart from like Christianity, believe me or not, is still to this day the only actual global religion. That it doesn't matter where you go in the world, you're going to find a Christian or you're going to find a Catholic.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Jehovah's Witness is generally not the same thing as the Catholic Church. They're all members of the Christian faith, but this is the thing that cracks me up about Christianity, right? Again, and talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, Catholics, Christians, I mean, all that, they're all religious sects when you think about it. They're all part of the exact same religion. They worship the same things from the same book, just in a different way. But it's a sect, and most of them, essentially, they're religious cults, for want of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own fanatic ways of looking at things, and it's simple as that. They are, most of them are criminal organizations.
Yep.
And they do very, very well at hiding it, and have been since the turn of time, basically, from the very first Catholic Church that came about.
Well, that they have like the best of like both worlds. Like, so a lot of people don't believe me when I sit there and say that when Catholicism started in Rome, it wasn't a religion; it was a political party.
Exactly.
You know, it started.
Well, how do you think the church came to power within any entity? They rose, on the political background, consulting with kings and queens.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's where they started.
Exactly. They just realized that people were moved when you started talking about eternal damnation and eternal salvation, and incorporated that into the politics. That's what it is.
Fear is a strong motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Jehovah is a name for God, if you want to look at it from that perspective, stranger. So Jehovah, yeah, I mean, it's, again, they're all taking bits and pieces out of the Bible that they relate to, and that's their particular religious path. And it's, again, they're all looking at the same book, but different versions of it and different parts of it, and taking from it what they want, instead of looking at the whole thing as it should be. It's a great novel. I'll say it, and I'll say it till the day I die. The Bible is probably one of the best novels ever written. It has been written and rewritten and reinterpreted and translated and rewritten so many times that you cannot believe a single word that is printed in that book.
And there's still
great stories.
It's still being reinterpreted to this day.
Exactly. There are some of the best stories in the Bible. Stories of morality, stories of overcoming stuff. I mean, it's great. David and Goliath, classic story of the little guy overcoming the big guy. It's but that's all they are, stories.
Yeah,
there's stories to empower people or do whatever. I mean, again, I'm not one to bag religious people. If you believe in that and that gets you through life, and you want to live a good life and believe in God and Jesus Christ and all the rest of that bullshit, then that's on you, and I'm happy for you.
Well, I've always said
what we're seeing here.
Exactly. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you go.
So I've always said that, like, I know quite a few Christians and I know quite a few Catholics, and they're not bad people. What I believe. So I'm gonna pull a quote. The first time I heard it was the Boondock Saints, but
I love that film.
Oh, it's amazing. But I'm pretty sure
both of them recently.
I need to rewatch them. Them.
Great films.
But the only person, the only thing that is more dangerous than an evil man is the indifference or inaction of good men.
Exactly.
And that's just let to be kind of like more open here. People, we'll change that to people. I mean, the quote itself is said by men, but you know, the only thing worse than evil people is the inaction or indifference of good people. So we're on YouTube, man. So we gotta gotta cater to the algorithm.
Relatively PC, yeah.
You know,
but like I said, I think with this particular situation, we're going to see just that. We're going to see good people not standing up and holding them to account. And even if we do, I mean, you could have half the world stand up and try and hold these guys to account. But because of the entity that the Catholic Church has become and has been allowed to become, we know that not a lot's actually going to happen.
Exactly.
And that's a really sad thing.
Well, it is. And like, just by reading the article, I can already tell that like nothing's going to happen. I mean, the very fact that like the fucking church that fucking, the organization that ordained me, you know, for free, you know, is the organization picking up the story. And that's how I heard about it. You know, I didn't.
Well, the first time I heard about it was when you posted it to me, and I actually went looking for it on news websites like our local news website, Here's Stuff, and New Zealand Herald. I went looking at it on the Australian Post, on US national news websites, and there was nothing. None of those actual legitimate national news websites had picked the story up, and that tells you a lot.
It does. It does. It doesn't tell me that it's not true. It tells me that it's not an important issue for people to be talking about. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised that, you know, the church has its hand in a little bit of bribery and is paying certain organizations off not to talk about it, not to spread it.
100%.
And again, that's another thing that you're never going to hear about, because as long as like the organizations that we sit there and try to say that, you know, are true to us and newsworthy, are capable of accepting, you know, any type of compensation to ignore a story. I mean,
not that hard if you've got half the number of people who identify as Catholics in the organization already anyway. You know, it probably doesn't take a whole lot of money for me to say I'm not going to put my own religion on blast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's pretty pervasive.
You know, so it's just, you know, and I feel even with like, you know, information, I like to say information organizations on YouTube, not news organizations, because we're an information organization. We provide opinions. We don't provide the news. We talk about the news, but we don't, you know, like it's certain points in the podcast. But we're not a news
I think it's
organization.
important to just reiterate that all these views that even myself bring into this discussion, my personal opinion. It's what I've read. It's how I feel about it. It's not it's not fact. I mean, I couldn't tell you for a fact that these things have anything that I've said is actually true, but it's what I feel strongly based on information that I've gathered over 40 years of research, and the fact that I was born and raised in a Catholic home. I mean, I lived this religion for the first 18 years of my life.
Yep.
I've seen firsthand some of, not the abuse, but the Catholic priest that presided over my personal church was tried and convicted of pedophilia when I was in my 20s. Luckily, I wasn't involved in that, but several of my friends were. So it's a personal thing to me as well, because I was involved in that sort of shit. So
I can say that, like, I mean, I've dealt with Catholics directly. I've dealt with the Catholic Church, a priest, Sunday school, shit like that. But I've never, thankfully, you know, I've never had to deal with abuse at the hand of a priest or a clergyman. Thankfully, because honestly, I think that probably would have fucked me up worse than I already am.
That's a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing, and again, I'd like to reiterate that not all religious people are bad. Not all religious people are like that. I mean, I was involved in a youth group in my late teens, right into my early 20s, and became a youth group leader into my mid to late 20s for the agnostic church. And we used to run events, four-wheeling, archery, orienteering. I mean, all just stuff for teenagers and young adults to get out and do stuff that was more practical. That, I mean, these are all city kids. These are all kids that had grown up in a city, never been on a farm. never
Mhm.
seen a farm animal or anything like that. So we used to in the first place, I was involved in it from the other side, but then got into the organisation of it and helping running it.
Mhm.
And so not all religious people are bad. And we've got to
No,
really
not at all.
put that out there that you can't tar all these people with the same brush.
You can't, because like, and this is another thing I kind of want to put out there. It's like, I don't want anybody in the chat or anybody that's listening to this in the, the pre-recorded, which I always think pre-recorded is a funny fucking phrase because we're recording it now. So like, I was pre-fucking recorded. But anyway, anybody that's listening to the pre-recorded, anything like that, like, this is not a call to action for you to go fucking, egg the house of the local Catholic person that lives in your block, like, or anything worse. Like, don't do that. Like, just because somebody identifies as Catholic doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. We're talking about the organization. The organization has a track record, and we can't judge the believers through the organization. We can judge the organization through the believers, but we can't judge the believers through the organization. If that makes any sense. Which it should, because like the one of the there's quite a few phrases that follow along those lines, that like, all of these are this, but not all of this are these kind of things, like,
All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
yeah, pretty much. Exactly.
Exactly.
Like, so, but I do fully believe that if you're listening to this, the church does need to be boycotted. Like, the church does need to be shut down, and not just boycotted. Like, I'm not talking about going out in front of the fucking your local church and fucking boycotting the church. The church needs to be shut down. The church needs to be taken care of. Like, its time has passed. The archaic nature of the Vatican and the Catholic religion. Honestly, people,
It doesn't even really apply to today, a lot of it. I mean,
it doesn't.
Basic Christianity, yes. I'll agree that there is a place for basic Christianity in the world based on the simple beliefs of Christianity.
Mhm.
Love thy neighbor, all that kind of guff. I mean, just treat people right. I mean, but do you need a religion to do that? Do you need to believe in something to treat people the right way?
Mhm.
Some people do. And those are the people, if that's what they need to get them through lives in that particular way, then that's on them, and that's a good thing. But do we really need to have these religious organizations anymore in the way that they have been, specifically the Catholic Church being the largest and still the most prolific? I mean, the way that they do things in the Vatican, a lot of it's still centuries old. They haven't changed anything.
No. I mean,
And
and the Baptists aren't.
It doesn't make a whole lot
either.
of sense. Right, yeah. Baptists have always been pretty weird anyway.
I was going to bring up my Southern Baptist evangelical background. See, I'm like Malice. I never had anything like this massive thing that's happening in the Catholic Church when it comes to pedophilia and sexual abuse. My church was just full of assholes. And, mental abuse, absolutely. Getting kicked out of the church, absolutely. But yeah,
like kicked out, like excommunication.
I mean, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, I was kicked out and told not to come back.
I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was told the same thing. I mean, I rocked up to mass with an Iron Maiden T-shirt on one Sunday. Wasn't a good move on my part. I mean, I'm in as my thing, and yeah, I got told not to come back. And I was like,
I went
sweet.
in.
I'm out of here. See you later.
I went into, when I lived with my biological father, for the stint that I lived with him. I went into. He used to make me go to church. All right, cool. So I went into church with my Marilyn Manson T-shirt that on the back says "I am the God of fuck."
I love that T-shirt. We got a company here in New Zealand called Brutalities, and they do T-shirts, and they've got a T-shirt which is on the front of it. It's got Jesus fucking Christ in words, two stick figures depicting Jesus Christ fucking himself. It's a wonderful T-shirt. And
What is it
it's
called? I gotta. Do they ship to the United States?
They are online. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they ship internationally. Brutalities is so brutal alities as in T's TEES. But they do some pretty pretty cool T-shirts.
Came right up.
Yeah, brutalities.
Oh, dude, they got a lot of cool stuff.
They got some. Yeah, I mean they ship a lot of stuff in from the US, so they do a lot of demonia products and things like that. But they run their own T-shirt line. So Team Satan is another T-shirt they do. They got some pretty cool stuff. I'm pretty sure they ship international. So
they do.
What I would like to find is an original of that fucking of the Cradle of Filth T-shirt.
Which one?
I think it's like Jesus is a cunt.
Oh yeah, that was a limited run.
It was a limited run, and even
Very
if you find
run.
And if you find a used one, it's expensive as fuck.
Yeah, I saw one come up on. Fuck, where was it? It was a local, almost like Craigslist here in New Zealand. It was called Trade Me, and it was going for $500.
Yeah, it's a limited run.
Crazy. Apparently, you can get it from mercyandstorm.com.
Really?
I'll check the link in.
An original?
It looks like it is. It's in Great Britain, which doesn't surprise me because that's where the band is from. Links in the chat. 13 pounds, 14 pounds, so about $30.
Oh, that's not bad. I can do that.
Yeah, that looks like that's the original. That looks like it's the licensed version.
That's the important thing. If it's a licensed original,
it looks like it.
Quality reasons.
Don't quote me, but it does look like a licensed original.
And there's a Slayer one that says "Kill God and all that is holy."
Yeah.
Really?
I think that one you can still get.
Actually,
a lot of them have come back. Like a lot of those stuff that were originally banned because of the content. A lot of it's been able to be re-released because of obviously freedom of speech and all that sort of stuff coming out. It's been more and more prevalent these days because obviously the church isn't exactly in the good graces of the general world's public anymore. Not like they used to be.
I would hope,
especially all this sort of stuff coming out. So that's why a lot of this sort of stuff is becoming more and more prevalent now because people can see the funny side of it rather than taking it so seriously.
I mean, that was the thing. I mean, I think that's kind of like the big thing. It's like, like what was considered shocking back in like the 90s and early 2000s, like isn't as shocking as it, as it once was.
I see example, Guns N' Roses t-shirt from just Appetite for Destruction. Remember that one?
I do.
With the chick up against the fence. Yeah. So that was banned in a lot of countries because it was suggestive, and its content suggested something that was generally not deemed as being appropriate. Nowadays, people just don't give a shit because it's art.
Can I just say that time has not been kind to Axl Rose?
No. Time has not been kind to a lot of time. Speaking of this, I was trolling through Facebook and a thing came up and said where they are now, and it was all those 80s rock stars, right? So you had Axl Rose, you had Brett Michaels from Poison, you had lead singer of Motley Crue, you had all these guys, Sebastian Bach from as well. There's all those guys from those sort of 80s and late 80s hair bands, and most of them look absolutely hideous now.
Can I just say, with you saying Brett Michael gave me a hug and a bandana.
Brett Michaels is he's a really nice guy. Like apparently a really super nice guy.
So this thing right here,
Axl Rose on the other hand is a complete dick.
Oh yeah, he is. This right here was actually given to me here, this was the one that was on his head. Like, I probably should have put it in like some type of fucking glass thing or something, but like, I'm not that fucking.
If you put it in, like if he'd split it and you'd put it in some kind of glass, that would have turned into a festering, moldy mess.
Yeah, I watched it first. But this was on his head for the show. This is the bandana that he wore. That was the bandana that they were using for the Bret Michaels band.
Oh, true. Nice.
So yeah, so I got this was on his head.
Oh, that's his solo stuff.
Yeah, so like this was on his head at the show when he was doing the show. He got done with the show. I was backstage. He ripped it off his head, gave me a hug, put it in my hand, and then fucking took off in his fucking SUV. So,
I passed his
Yeah.
bedtime.
probably past his bedtime.
Probably.
Well, no, I think he had like another show like at a festival like the next day, and the flight was leaving. Whatever, I don't.
Yeah, most of them do. So, Stranger, just to touch on what you said there, was it mass graves of children are found in Canada, Britain, and many other countries that were all killed by Catholics. It's possible. The biggest thing with, again, the Catholic Church, Holy Crusades, all that sort of shit, more people have been put to death in the name of God than any other religion in the world.
Any other
Just to put that in
reason?
perspective.
Forget religion.
Or any other reason. Any other reason and religion. But yeah, more people have been killed in the name of God than anything else out there.
You know, I mean, the very fact that fucking for the Catholics, St. Patrick is still a fucking saint. You know, like I always go back to this. Like, you know, St. Patrick is a saint because he killed people.
Yep.
You know, like
most of the saints did. I don't think people fully understand. A lot of the patron saints of anything were generals and soldiers and in God's army during the Holy Crusades and before.
Yeah,
I mean, the patron saint of the sea was a fucking naval captain.
Like, I mean, ask yourself a huge question. Why is it that Irishmen don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Like, why is it that you could go to Temple Bar in Dublin and on St. Patrick's Day,
I can tell you why.
there's almost nobody drinking? Go for it, Evil. I know the answer. Tell the people.
Well, firstly, the bulk of the Irish are fucking Protestant for one, so they completely oppose the Catholic Church wholly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Unless
I mean,
you're Northern
St. Patrick,
Ireland, and then it's a little.
Unless you're Northern Ireland, but even then, St. Patrick wasn't even fucking Irish.
Nope. He wasn't.
That's the reason half of them don't celebrate it or don't worship him or celebrate him, because he wasn't even fucking Irish.
He was from Wales. But because he was from Wales and he went from Wales and Ireland, fucking killing people in his wake. Men, women, children, the elderly. Like I said this earlier, okay? What St. Patrick would do, the whole plan was like, well, he would go to your house and he'd say, okay, you need to convert to Catholicism. You need to be a Catholic. And people would say, no, I believe in what I believe in. I'm not
doing that.
Right? And it's like, okay, well, then we're going to kill your children in front of you. And the people would stand their ground and say, we are not converting. And so they would kill their children. We would decapitate them and cut their throats in front of them. And he says, are you going to convert? Well, with less desire. No, we're not going to convert. Okay, well, we're going to kill your parents now. So they go and they grab the parents and they cut the throats and cut the heads off of the parents. Are you going to convert now? No, we're not going to convert. And then, well, then we're going to kill you. And they cut their throats and they cut their heads off. And then going through a few houses, you know, a few families, a few hundred families, people started getting the gist that, well, standing your ground is not a healthy idea, especially if you want your children to live to be the next generation. So what happened? He converted a couple countries from killing their children and their parents.
And
the
pagans
church
are evil.
And burned books, our history, pagan history, actual pagan history from that area of the world. The only place that we actually really had any real history written down. Burned it. And then the church said, well, you're a saint. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's
All in the name of Jesus.
again, this is typical of the Catholic Church. Again, specifically, is they satanize these these fucking hypocrites and, for want of a better term, evil men to support their own means and to their own ends. I mean, it's how it's worked for centuries. It's just they. I've never. Again, they rule by fear. They rule by fear and by whispering in the ears of kings and queens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you go back to right back to sort of the 7, 8, 900 BC and even after even AD, where they literally people were superstitious. They believed what they were told. So when the church came in and says that there is this all-encompassing evil called the devil, and if you don't follow the ways of God, then you're an evil person and you should be put to death, or you should lose everything. They believed it.
Mm-hmm. It was a perfect political structure.
It was 100%. They played into the superstitions of the people and basically ruled by fear, the fear of the devil and the fear of God. Hence the term God-fearing people. And a lot of people don't understand when they say it. I don't think people say it and really understand what it means, because that's exactly what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholic
Actually
Church
fearing
put
God.
the fear of God into the people, so you did fear God. You feared the wrath of God if you didn't follow the church.
Because you thought that these people killing your
more
your
the point,
family
you feared the Templars and God's soldiers more than
exactly
God himself, but
no, exactly.
they were doing God's work, kind of thing.
Well, supposedly.
Supposedly.
You know, and exactly. And, you know, it's if you look at modern day politics aren't far off from the lessons that the Catholic Church taught them. You keep the populace afraid, whether it is of a particular target or of each other, and it's easier to control the populace.
Fear of misinformation. Classic politics.
You know, and that's how politics works. I mean, think about it. All right, let's go through history a little bit. Let's do a quick history lesson. World War II. United States wanted fucking nothing to do with it. Then the Japanese come in and bomb Pearl Harbor. All of a sudden, every single American, and I can only give American history. I can't give any other history from anywhere else. I can only give American history because that's what I know. You know, so the Japanese come in and bomb Pearl Harbor. There were doubts that the planes that actually came in and bombed Pearl Harbor were actually Japanese planes. There were doubts. Conspiracy theory, yes, but there were doubts that they were actually Japanese planes.
But it was a little light on that.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, go for
it. History is definitely my thing, and I've studied World War I and II extensively through high school and my later years as well. The planes that bombed Pearl Harbor were indeed Japanese, but they had German engineering to assist them for their long journey, but they were never ever meant to return. Not a single plane that bombed Pearl Harbor was ever supposed to fly back. They didn't have enough fuel. Hence the amount of Japanese planes that slammed into the side of battleships and into airports and such. They were never going to return.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, every pilot had taken, for want of a better term, their last rites before taking off. So, yeah, where the term kamikaze came from, because they did not intend to fly home, because they had no way of getting there, because they had no way of fueling in the air like they do today, and their fuel tanks weren't big enough to hold that amount of fuel to fly there, drop their payloads, or shoot down enemy aircraft or whatever, and then turn around and fly home.
Mm-hmm. And then right after Pearl Harbor happened, look at the news cycle. Like, nobody pays attention to the news cycle that happened after Pearl Harbor. Like, look at the repeat language that's used in the news cycles, right? Like, the United States kept talking about Nazis and the Japanese working with the Nazis and things like that, even though the Japanese at that particular conjunction didn't really have anything to do with the Nazis. You know,
not openly.
And so, and there was just this complete repeat news cycle of fear mongering and just pushing people until the entire country was 100% behind war. And guess what? We went to war. We didn't win the war. The Russians won the war. Like, you want to talk about who actually won World War II? Yeah. That was the Russians. The Russians fucking won that shit. Well, we didn't do a goddamn thing.
Actually, no one won the war. The Germans lost it for themselves by invading Russia in the height of fucking winter, which was stupid. And that was a big mistake on Hitler's part. It was the biggest mistake he made military-wise.
Well, he moved everybody out of Berlin.
Yeah. He invaded Russia in the height of Russian winter with no supplies, no way of getting supplies, because the Russians, as they retreated, scorched earth, man. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah. And just read American history. We, according to American history, we won the war. We didn't do a fucking thing. We joined the war at the ass end of that shit. So we didn't win a fucking thing. I'm not saying we didn't do our part, like, at the particular time that we joined 100%. In.
I mean, there are definitely battles that the Americans were paramount in throughout the course of World War II. They were definitely paramount in the liberation of a lot of the camps throughout World War II, at the end of World War II, once the Germans had surrendered as well. And 100% paramount in the capturing and prosecuting of war criminals after the fact.
Yep.
So the Americans definitely had a big part to play. But they themselves specifically didn't win the war on their own, obviously.
No,
it was a world war. It involved everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's crazy to think that... but again, if you actually... You go back even into that, religion was a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. It was.
The rise of the Nazi Party in Germany started off as a religious party. They started off a very religious... party, and
well, the whole Third Reich, sideways. The whole Third Reich was based around occultism. I mean, grant you, okay, I mean, okay, so
100%. Hitler was obsessed with the occult.
So, I mean, I have to say that it's not instantiated, right? So, like, I have to be clear with that, right? It is, but from everything that we've gathered, Hitler was obsessed with the occult, and the entire Third Reich.
There's documentation that's come to light that proves that he was obsessed with it, like his own handwritten accounts.
Like, I mean, he even had people out there looking for the fucking, Ark of the Covenant, know.
Holy Grail. He had them looking for the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, all these religious artifacts that supposedly would have given him the edge.
Mm-hmm. Which is where a lot of these movies like Hellboy... Yeah. Like you watch like Hellboy, like that's where like the creation of Hellboy came from because of the Third Reich.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously, Germans are involved in that again, and that was put in there specifically because Hitler had this huge obsession with the Ark of the Covenant and what it stood for.
Exactly. So let's go for a little bit more of a modern example that most people will remember. Let's remember 9/11. So 9/11 is a sensitive subject for me because an uncle of mine passed away. He was a New York City firefighter, went in and never came out because the building fell on him. But if you look at the news cycles after 9/11, the only terms that you would hear is extremism and terrorism, or Muslim extremists, on every single news cycle that happened after 9/11. The same thing that happened after Pearl Harbor, in almost the exact same sequence. And
it's about prompting a nation to act, and act. The American nation did.
It did. But the thing was, I don't think it was the correct act, especially if we look at the fact that, we had information that everything was happening, and George Bush was reading a fucking bedtime story to a bunch of kindergartners. And if you look at the video footage of him, like when they told him, hey, this is happening, he just kind of looked at the camera and went,
yeah, exactly. There is so much evidence to point to political involvement in that. It wasn't funny.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, we knew about it. We knew that it was going to happen. We had fucking threats about it. Nobody acted on it prior. You know, when everything went down, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. You know, it's just a bunch of bullshit. But there are so many things in history that point at fear mongering. Fear is control. If you look at today, I am not saying that COVID is not dangerous. COVID is most definitely a dangerous virus. Okay, I have, you know, heard of like people that through third parties that I've known indirectly that have died and passed away from getting the virus. But at the end of the day, there should be a line drawn on how much fear something like this should be able to draw. Like, I mean, I'm seeing people doing like getting vaccinations with signs saying, "I am doing this under duress." Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing.
Unwillingly.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be vaccinated if they don't want to be. If you don't want to get a vaccination, don't fucking get it. I mean, it's your personal belief or wish, then don't get it. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is governments push this whole mandatory fucking narrative, which I think is wrong. I don't think they should be allowed to do it. We're seeing businesses do it, even in this country. We're seeing businesses turn around telling their staff now, okay, if you're not vaccinated, you won't have a job, which I think is wrong.
I do too. I'm sorry, I do.
I don't think that anyone should be able to force anyone to do something against their will, especially if they they don't have enough information to make a justified decision in that area, or they may not. Again, it comes back to religion. You may have a religious belief, which means you don't wish to take medications, and there are some religious beliefs out there that do that, or you just don't want to get it.
I mean, I think so. I there are certain situations where I can agree. So, for example, federal buildings, like the United States originally passed it saying, okay, in federal buildings, things like that, like any type of federal property, you know, you need to be wearing a mask, you know, things like that. And then it kind of moved into like the vaccination. You need to be able to provide like, you know, vaccination papers. But, okay. So let's roll back to Nazi Germany, shall we? Can we do that for a fucking second? Okay. Do any of you remember the Star of David that the Jews were forced to wear on their armband to identify who they were, and that as a member of society, you needed to identify whether or not you were Jewish in Nazi Germany, including with paperwork, in order to use certain establishments or businesses or to live in certain places? Like, do I
with vaccine passports?
Like, do I have to draw the comparisons for you? Like, I mean, look, we have a medical professional with us, and I completely agree with the medical professional that COVID is a very serious thing. I completely agree. I'm not undermining or saying that COVID is not a serious thing. COVID is most definitely a serious thing.
Like, I chose to get a vaccination because
and I got my first shot. I'm still waiting on my second. I'm still waiting on my second.
I'm still waiting on my second as well. But I chose to get it for two reasons. One, my partner works in healthcare, for one. So again, she has to get it because of where she works. She works with the elderly who are at high risk of this virus and of high risk of dying when they catch this virus. So therefore, obviously, they want all their staff to be fortified against it.
Yep.
High chance if something happens and she's exposed to it, then that means I'm going to be exposed to it and our child's going to be exposed to it.
Exactly.
So she got it. I'm getting it. As soon as the approval comes through for 12 and unders to get it, our son will be getting it. Simple as that.
I agree.
We chose to get it based on those reasons. If you choose to get it for whatever reason, as long as it's not a reason of misinformation or a reason of stupidity, then don't get it. That easy.
Yeah, if you want to get it, get it. If you don't want to get it, don't get it. I mean, but the thing is like, so the thing that bothers me is that so it's turning into a thing that they're requiring you to provide proof of having the vaccine, or at the very least, a document that says that you have not had it or you have tested negative for it.
Yeah.
In
I don't
order
agree
to
with
do,
that.
in order to do normal day-to-day things like walking into a fucking grocery store.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. I'm kind of in two sides about this because our government here is looking at introducing a vaccine passport as well. In some respects, I can see why, because
Same here.
and our Prime Minister's been quite open about it and explained why they're considering doing it, because it promotes vaccination. They've seen that it's happened in other countries where they've introduced this and vaccination rates have gone up exponentially.
But it's one thing to promote the vaccination. It's another thing to restrict the day-to-day activities of a
Exactly.
free citizen.
And that's something I don't agree with.
Just because they don't want to get it. So I see Mystic squirming over there. Mystic, please, as a medical professional, as somebody that works in the medical field, tell us your thoughts, please.
So like it's very hard for me to have an opinion because my initial opinion is government shouldn't mandate anybody to do anything. But I have seen how these mother effers drive on the street daily. Do I trust them to make a solid decision that's going to affect me? Absolutely not. So that's number one. Number two, I fly every week. I can pick up COVID and I'm vaccinated. You can still pass it. I'm vaccinated. I work in a different building every day, so I'm around about 150 patients, about 100 nurses every day. So when I go into that building, I have a huge responsibility, I think, because I want to protect myself, to protect my patients. Every single case that we have had in our building, this is about 15,000 patients now that are in my group. Every single positive case has come from an employee into our building from outside. Whether it's a CNA, a housekeeper, these are normal people, and they're getting it from everybody else who's not vaccinated. I still have a problem because I don't agree with a mandate. I don't think I can't. I've never been able to marry those two together. So if I have to pick a side, it's going to be the safe side, not the not mandate side, right? So that and it's so frustrating for me because it's not the vaccine mandate that's causing a problem for healthcare in general.
I
It's
agree.
it's the way the government is forcing us to respond to it,
Yeah.
right? So it's not even the vaccine's not even an issue to me in the end. It's these hospitals and, for example, we have to test every single patient, every single staff member, every 3 days, on top of already being extremely short of nurses to begin with. So we didn't have any. And then when we have an outbreak, there's 20 nurses that are out of the building, right? So we're short again. And the things that we're required to do by the government in order to maintain our licensure and maintain being able to care for our elderly patients, because I work for a nursing home organization. It's a hospital too, but and it comes down to the only way out of this for us is through vaccination mandates. And that's the only way out for us.
Yeah.
Now, we are a small subset of the United States. There's what, 340 or 350 million, something like that, right? Nursing is the largest industry, what do you call it, discipline, profession, other than the military in the United States. So we have the most people, which means we have the most people having the most contact with the most people who are not in the profession, which means we have the most risk. And the only way we can reduce our risk is if
By
everybody gets
vaccination, yeah.
vaccinated. And then the problem is we have nurses who aren't getting vaccinated. And I got really ticked off today because somebody posted an article that says nurses are leaving and healthcare workers are leaving in droves because of vaccine mandates. No, they're not. We've been short for 20 years. This isn't new. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've lost some. I mean, I think we've lost the grand total, and we haven't done a mandate like our organization.
Yeah.
Even though our president said there's a mandate, there's been no ruling on that mandate. So there's been no logistical preparation or ruling for it. So the companies are still up to choosing. Most everybody has chosen. We decided not to right now because if we do, we just don't feel like forcing them. We're still trying to convince
Okay,
them that it's the
so
right thing to do.
can I ask you a question as a medical professional, because you are the only medical professional in this chat right now? If you can't answer, then just fine, you can't answer. That's fine. I'm not going to force you, but so I'm not a medical professional, but I have heard that if you have had COVID and your body has produced antibodies from having COVID, that it's not recommended that you get the vaccination because you already have antibodies for COVID.
That was a true, well, it is a true statement in and of itself. It's not necessary. Once you have COVID, you do have antibodies. Those antibodies are better than antibodies you would get from a vaccine. The thing is, when that first started happening was when vaccines first came out.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have enough. So we said, no, don't get vaccinated. We need those for our nurses and our nursing homes and our nurse aides and our housekeepers and our hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for masks. When we first started coming out about masking, we said, no. Public, don't wear masks. We didn't have enough. And so then when that mandate came out, that everybody had to wear masks. Guess who ran out of masks? The nurses. That's why we were wearing trash bags and napkins taped to our faces.
Mm-hmm.
I get a little, sorry, it riles me up a little bit because it's like the reasoning behind the things that are actually happening are being used. Not what you're saying, but just in general are being used to create more fear to make people do things when all you have to do is tell them the real reason.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, because you have the answers.
Yeah.
And this is what I was getting at, I think, was misinformation is the biggest threat here. And this is what's happening across the world is the general public is getting a bunch of misinformation from our governments about what we should and shouldn't be doing.
And people.
Instead of being honest and just saying, this is what we're doing, this is the reason why we're doing it, let's move forward.
And we're full of I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for other countries, but the United States, I'm proud to be American, whatever, but we're full of a bunch of idiots and assholes and we're selfish. That's what we do. And we're really good at it. And our media, just like many, is terrible. I had another article today that just it pissed me off. Ivermectin is not a good treatment for COVID. It just isn't. But when
we've had the same bullshit here too.
But when you say that in an article that families we have right now, there's about 37 lawsuits against hospitals, ours included, because the doctor refused to order ivermectin. So in the article, they talk about this, and the article's amazing, but the picture is of a freaking horse ivermectin. And so that's misleading because, it is horse dewormer. No, you should not buy horse dewormer. But yes, ivermectin is an approved drug for human beings. So when they throw those half-assed things together, it confuses people. And why wouldn't you? It is a horse dewormer, but you know what? So is tramadol is a pain medication in humans. They use it for dogs. Our Chihuahua is on atenolol, the same heart medication you give people. We don't go around saying, how dare you give Chihuahua medication to my husband who has heart failure? It's like,
well, that's it. There's actually a lot of medications out there that are for animals and humans.
It's so frustrating.
I mean, it is. And again, misinformation, half-truths, and that's what hurts people. And the general public get confused and then argue because they have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and I still don't believe that the government should have the ability to mandate you do something, but we're at a crisis now that there's no way out of it. We're stuck.
Oh, there are people in countries, like I've seen, like I don't know if it's in the United States, but I think in other countries where restaurants are starting to like require kind of like these like vaccination passports and things like that in order to come in. And there are literally people lined up on the street having picnics in front of the restaurants with food that they've brought themselves to protest these restaurants.
Here. I've heard about it. I haven't actually like physically seen it, like
Neither
footage or
have I.
anything like that. But I've heard stories. But again, how many of those stories are just stories and just people trying to scare people as well?
Look,
Again,
I
going
think-
back to
I
that
think-
whole thing.
I think just like with smallpox, because we ended up developing a vaccination for smallpox, and we ended up like practically wiping out smallpox. Vaccines for smallpox were not mandated They weren't forced onto the people. But the severity of smallpox was known to the people. And the people trusted and understood that getting a vaccination for smallpox is going to reduce your risk of getting smallpox. And you'll be able to, survive smallpox. And through that, we were able to practically globally, almost globally, completely obliterate smallpox. Without mandates. And smallpox killed a lot of fucking people. Like, I don't know the exact
But
numbers.
that's the thing, and this is the thing I think with COVID-19 is that, yes, it's dangerous. Yes, you can possibly die from it. Yes, you can still contract it if you're vaccinated. But once you're vaccinated, the chances of you dying from it are significantly reduced.
Yes.
The chances of you contracting it are significantly reduced.
One more. The chances of you having symptoms enough to pass it on to others is significantly reduced.
Exactly.
That's the one
So,
that people forget, I think.
yeah. And so when you look at it on that scale, if like in New Zealand, what the government's calling for, and like we just had yesterday, our government actually did a really interesting thing. They did a vaccinathon, asking for 100,000 vaccinations in a day. We hit that and then some. I think we ended up with 127,000 vaccinations in a single day, which is really cool. I mean, the government's looking at doing things so they don't have to mandate. They're looking at a 90% vaccination for the country, which means at 90% they suggest that we should be able to return to some semblance of normality, because we're still in staggered lockdowns all over the country at the moment because of the Delta outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
So at 90%, the government suggests that we should be able to return to a semblance of normality and open our borders again and start working again on that sort of level of things, which is great. We have dumb people, just like every other country, that don't believe it, or just are stupid enough to think that they are invincible. Personally, I think natural selection is a great thing, and I think those dumb people deserve what they get. I mean, I don't wish anyone dead.
Look,
don't get me wrong. I don't wish anyone dead, but
I
dumb
personally
people deserve what they get.
I personally stand against having the vaccination mandated to people that don't want to get it. This is coming from someone that I have my first dosage of the vaccination for the country that I'm in. I'm not.
I highly recommend getting it.
Yeah, same here.
Honestly.
I do. I highly recommend getting the vaccination, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you don't get it, you're a piece of shit human.
Oh, hell no.
Like I'm not going to do that, because that's the last fucking thing that you need. But if you want to protect yourself and you want to protect your family, you want to protect your loved ones, and you want to protect the people around you, then go for it. Like, I'm still here. I got a vaccination from a brand that has been known to kill people with the first dosage. Granted, it's only killed 2 people, but that's beside the point.
I mean, we've had it. We've had 2 deaths as a result of the vaccine, but again, severe reactions to the vaccines are few and far between. It happens with any vaccine you'll ever take. I mean, Christ, you can drop dead by taking paracetamol, for Christ's sake, if you had an adverse reaction to it. So to refuse to take a vaccine based on the side effects is, in my opinion, stupidity.
So yeah, it's
exactly. I mean, every medication has listed side effects. If you believed every side effect that medication tells you, you wouldn't fucking take anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
What's the comment? The difference between medicine and poison is the dosage.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Most heart meds, digoxin, is based off of an herb you can grow in your garden, and if you eat it, it will kill you. It will stop your heart.
Well, here's a perfect example. The people that have depression and take antidepressants. How many people out there, if you're listening right now, how many of you take an antidepressant that one of the side effects is anal bleeding?
I used to take one of those. I just remembered. I remember reading it on the package and going, huh?
Literally, the side effect of Prozac is suicide.
Yeah. And I was on Prozac for 2 years.
It's insane.
And you have no problem taking that. So
but the difference between that reaction in somebody is based on a certain type of protein that's in your blood that can be measured. 98% of people have one protein that metabolizes Prozac in a certain way. 2% have a different protein, metabolizes it completely differently. And that's true with many different meds. And pharmacists would probably know way more about that than I do, because that's the pharmacokinetics
Mm-hmm.
of medications, which, we learned that word to say it because it makes it sound smart. We don't actually know what it means.
Well, I mean, classic example, right? I mean, as someone who has adverse effects to certain medications, I went into hospital recently with severe stomach pain. Initially, I thought it might. The doctor went to ED. Thought it might have been my heart, so put me on a ECG and all that sort of stuff. And eventually, after the ECG come back relatively clear, I got given what is called a pink lady, which is Gaviscon. For those who don't know what Gaviscon is, basically an antacid with lidocaine in it, which is an anesthetic, to help sort of with the pain and to help settle my stomach, because it turns out it was a severe gastro thing. But me and lidocaine don't mix very well. I got home 3 or 4 hours later and I was restless. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't sleep. For 3 days after having a small dosage of lidocaine, it was like I was on fucking speed or crack or something. I was just so restless and jittery and just not able to sleep because of the adverse reaction I have to lidocaine. And it happened after I had my teeth out and everything as well, because I use the same thing in the dentist. So it was just my chemical makeup doesn't like that particular drug, and my body reacts weird to it. Doesn't hurt me, but it just I feel like I'm drunk for 3 days.
So basically, the thing is none of us can promise you that if you get the vaccination that you're going to be 100% fine. None of us can promise you that if you get the vaccination that you're never going to get COVID. None of us can promise you that if you get the vaccine and you do get COVID, that it's not going to kill you. And I know this is a lot of empty air where we can't really promise you anything. But, from what I've seen from various
numbers
sources,
are small though.
No, it is. It's like adverse.
Small.
Yes, adverse reactions are small. But then what I have seen though in large amount is people that do get COVID after the vaccine, the symptoms are significantly reduced.
100%.
For as bad as it is, people will sit there and tell you anecdotally at best, but they will tell you that they believe that the reason why they're still fucking alive is because they had the vaccine. I
think we seem to realize too is COVID-19 is not going away.
No.
It is mutated from its original strain to the point where it's another coronavirus, just like the flu. The flu has been around for generations. The flu's here to stay. COVID-19's here to stay. Vaccines will improve as the coronaviruses change and move, and it'll become another flu vaccine. It'll be either be incorporated into the regular flu vaccine that we get today, or it'll be a separate one altogether because of what it is. But COVID-19 is here to stay. It's how we and the world's governments now deal with it through vaccinations and information is the key here. And this is where the governments are falling down, is they're not providing the information they should be to the general public.
Yes, Jurian. 100%. God will protect you from anal bleeding.
It reminds me.
Well, tell that to 330,000 French people.
Yeah, right. It reminds me though of just the idea of when you look at how somebody leads a group of people, small group, medium group, large group, country. The idea is always to give people enough information to let them make a good decision. And if you do that, honestly, if you lay everything about the COVID vaccines and or the treatments out together, they're safe. Alarmingly safe compared to some other things, and very effective.
I
problem
agree.
is, again, Evil Dua said, it's our misinformation. That whole set of
Well, it's
things that
like
we have totally screwed up. But here's the thing:
okay.
we know that, especially in the United States, I don't know how true it is everywhere else, but especially in the United States, as soon as you tell us, who is basically a nation of toddlers, I'm including myself, no, you can't touch that, we're going to touch it. Yes, you have to take that. No, we're not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
Well,
human nature-ish too, to a
but
degree.
it's kind of irritating though, because the thing is like I'm not sitting here saying that the people that don't want to get the vaccine are killing other people. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to call them fucking murderers. I'm not going to say that they're stupid. Like for whatever reason you don't want to take the vaccine, like maybe you had COVID, you survived, and you have the
Unless it is a
antibodies.
stupid reason, then you are stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, try
Yeah,
not to
and I
go
don't see it
there.
as stupid either. I just see it as it truly is misinformed. It's not about the people are idiots for not doing it. I understand and I do
I disagree.
understand.
There's some really dumb fucking people out there. I mean, anti-vaxxers that
Yeah.
simply don't want to get vaccinated for the sake of not getting vaccinated. And half of them don't have the information. And they choose not to get the information. So to me, that makes them stupid. If they don't, if you make a decision as an anti-vaxxer based on proper information, great, then that's your choice. But if you're doing it just to spite other people because you just want to be part of the Me Too movement, which a lot of them are, then that's just plain stupidity.
Well, it's for example, there's one girl, young girl,
Oh,
they got like one of the I guess first like test vaccines for COVID for people under a certain age. Like I don't remember the exact details. And she was into gymnastics. She used to ride horses. Like she was a very active young girl. She got the vaccine and she had an adverse reaction to the vaccine. And now she can't get out of a wheelchair. She's stuck in a wheelchair, can barely talk. It's literally one case, and one case only, that I know of. That
I mean, that's extremely sad. People are going to hate me for saying this, but again, that's one case. That's
exactly.
that's not what happens to everybody. And I think this is where, again, media have a big part to play in this, because they take that one case and they splash it all over the news, or they put it in people's faces, and people go, my God. And they think that's going to happen to everybody. Instead of giving the correct information and saying, okay, this is the percentages. Out of 500 million doses of the vaccine, we've had 0.01% adverse reactions resulting in death.
Mm-hmm.
Why not put that out there? But the media wants to sell website space. They want to sell newspapers. They want to sell time. That's all about fucking money. So they're going to put the most horrible case up there in the public eye because it sells. And that's nothing simpler than that.
Yeah.
And that's why people are not getting the right information, because all they're seeing is this negative press.
And I'm not saying that girl doesn't deserve to have her story heard, right? I'm not saying that she doesn't deserve to have it heard, but I think that it should be heard within the correct context, because at the end of the day, she took an experimental vaccine. Her parents signed her up because they're not anti-vaxxers, right? They believe in vaccines, and they wanted their daughter to have the vaccine as early on as humanly possible. So when the minor version of the vaccine was produced and in testing stages, they signed their daughter up for the testing phase, right? And sadly, their daughter is going to be on the side effect label for that vaccine.
Yeah. And again, that's the key with that situation. They signed her up knowing the risks.
Yeah.
They signed a waiver saying, yes, we understand the possibility of whatever effects, but we want to make sure that this goes ahead. I mean, whether it worked or not, I mean, they knew the risk going into it, otherwise they wouldn't have signed the waiver, unless they were given misinformation.
Oh, and that's the worst part about it. They did sign a waiver, and then they're still trying to sue fucking, I think it's Pfizer for it.
And this,
You know?
yeah, so this is why Pfizer's had such a bad rap, because every time something's happened, it's been because of bloody Pfizer, and everyone's down on Pfizer, and it's like, dude. I mean,
I wanted,
percentages, man.
yeah, I wanted the Pfizer vaccine. I ended up getting the first dosage for AstraZeneca, which is
Pfizer's all we have in New Zealand, I think.
you know, AstraZeneca comes out of Oxford, England. And when I started reading, like, you know, things that happen with people to get AstraZeneca, you know, there have been 2 cases of people that died from like blood clots, you know, in the brain after, you know, getting the first dosage. Obviously, it's been a while since I got my first dosage, because sadly with AstraZeneca, it's 8 to 12 weeks.
Can they say 100 with 100% certainty that the vaccine was what caused the blood clot?
No.
So again, there's a lot of this information is being put out saying, oh, they had the vaccine and they died of blood clot. What's to say they weren't already going to die of that blood clot anyway? And it just so happened that they had the vaccine at that time. I mean, there's just so many variables in these situations where they can't be 100% certain that even half of these things that are happening are directly related to the vaccine, unless they can obviously make those links during an autopsy or whatever they do during toxicology.
Exactly. And which is one of the reasons why, like, I decided to keep going through it. Like, you know, I already got the first dose, whatever. You know, and I was actually very sick to my stomach the day that I got my first dose, because apparently I drank some bad wine the night before, and, you know.
That was stupid.
Yep. You know, so the entire day, like, I was sick to my stomach, and I stood there in line. You know, I didn't cancel my appointment or wait for another one. I stood there in line and I waited and I got my first dosage. Right.
Yeah, I think I'm due for my second in like 9 days or something.
Yeah, same here. Because the thing is AstraZeneca is 8 to 12 weeks between dosages. So
yeah, six weeks for Pfizer.
So yeah, so I still have to wait like another week or 2 before I can get my second dose.
I'm waiting on my third.
Are you gonna get a booster?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, with your profession, that would definitely be wise, 100%.
Have you checked? Have you guys checked your antibodies though?
No, we don't really check the antibodies. Like, that's not a standard thing, just because it's not.
I saw somebody that got the vaccine and then checked, like, over the course of 6 months, like, the count. So I don't know. So basically, the vial of liquid that they use to check it turns blue if they still have antibodies for COVID.
Yeah, and the thing is the only way to really check if you have true immunity to something is by a titer, which is how we check for HPV, hepatitis B, all those. You know,
can I just say,
you can get back.
On the term of immunity, I think I have a student that I think is immune to COVID. Because, so the student that I have, her mother, her father, and her sister, all 3 of them got COVID. And she has not gotten COVID.
I will tell you, the best way to prevent COVID is by washing your hands and social distancing and wearing a surgical mask. That's all you need.
100%. And that's what's been promoted here so heavily is wash your hands, stay 2 meters apart, wear a mask when you go into a built-up area like a supermarket or wherever. And
I don't know.
That's it.
I don't know about women, but in the men's bathroom, 1 out of 10 wets his hands and then says he washed it. That's the average. What I see in the airport every week. It's
most men are disgusting. Most men are disgusting. 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I went an entire year with COVID in some of the buildings that had, you know, let's say a building has 160 beds and maybe 150 patients were positive. And I would work in those buildings for 16 hours a day, close with those patients, 17 days straight, weekends, everything, over the Memorial Day weekend holiday. Never got sick before I was vaccinated. All I did was wear my mask, wash my hands.
Hey, I got my.
That's it.
I got multiple masks in multiple places just in case if I forget it. I don't have a problem wearing a mask. Like, I don't think anybody should have a problem wearing a mask. Like, masks look fucking cool. You look like a goddamn ninja, so just go for it. Wear a mask, even if you got a beard. I still wear one.
Dude,
Um,
I wear a black hoodie with a black mask. I look like a fucking ninja. It's great.
well, there
That's
you go.
awesome.
There you go. So it's like that there's no reason. Look, if you don't want to get the vaccine, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should.
You should.
But you should.
I'll tell you you should.
I'm not going to say you have to, but you should.
Yeah. I'm the same thing. I'm never going to tell anyone they have to do it, but I'd highly recommend get it.
Yeah, and
You should get it.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm sitting here telling you I don't think that you need to be mandated to get the vaccine. You shouldn't be mandated to get it. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. Asking for fucking vaccine passports, like going into restaurants or grocery stores, is absolute fucking bullshit. But did you get the vaccine? Dude, just get it, man. Like, the likelihood of any like adverse reactions is minimal. So, I mean, I knew the adverse reactions to what I was getting before I got it, and I still got it, and I'm fine. So, just get the vaccine. Like, help your community, help yourself. Yeah, like, help everybody. And then even after you get the vaccine.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to get the vaccine, that's fine. Stay 2 meters away from someone, wear a mask, and wash your fucking hands.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty straightforward.
And even if you do get the vaccine, still fucking, wash your hands.
That's approximately 6 feet for USians.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
sorry, I forget you guys in the US are in the dark ages still.
No kidding.
Yeah, we're still rocking.
Look, I had a recipe the other day. I'm so excited. It was in drams and dreidels.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dreidels?
That's awesome.
Did you say dreidels?
And drams, yes.
Drams and dreidels. I love it.
Oh, wow.
I know there's a different meaning for dreidel, but that's what it said.
That's great.
That's great. That's great. That's brilliant.
So, basically, I mean, we kind of got off topic, but I think it's kind of important that we talked about COVID a little bit. Boycott the Catholic Church. Stop going to church. Stop giving them money. And get vaccinated. That is the overall encompassment of today. All right.
It sounds like you're getting ready to wind down, but I want to throw one other thing out there that pissed me off.
All right, go for it.
And that is, we are having a really hard time getting treatment. Monoclonal antibody treatment is very, 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 very effective in elderly people. It has every single patient that we have had that's been positive that received this treatment has not gotten extremely sick and has not had to go to the hospital. That's over 1,000 patients that have not gone to the hospital. 100% effective.
Really?
It is $3,000 per dose. It requires 4 doses.
Well, then I guess you need to start attacking big pharma, because these motherfuckers, are sitting there to line their goddamn pockets. Who remembers the motherfucker that's did fucking, what was it, 6,000 times the value of a treatment for fucking diabetes?
He looks like a rat.
Yeah. Well, he's a fucking rat.
Oh my God, what was his name? He was such a dweeb. Oh, it's a terrible name too. Anyway, watch it be somebody's name. I apologize. But yeah, so there's a new pill coming out. I don't even remember the name of it, but this pill is, I think it's Merck, and it is showing very effective. And it is showing very effective against all of the strains that currently exist. And
Awesome.
they are touting its cheap price of $700.
Holy crap.
So you tell me who's really trying to get COVID eradicated. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. And that's a perfect thing to lead people
mad.
to think about. No, it's a perfect thing to think about. Big pharma is not your fucking friend. Get the vaccine where you can, but
get it while it's free, because eventually it will not be.
But we do love pharmacists. They're stuck in the middle, just because we have a pharmacist in the group, in the chat.
Oh, do we? Do we have a pharmacist?
Or a pharmacy person. I'm not going to assume they're a pharmacist, but they're pharmacy adjacent in some way.
Pharmacy adjacent.
I like the adjacent thing. Like it gets me out of all kinds of trouble. I'm left-hand path
Works.
adjacent.
Yeah,
I'm Wiccan
that whole
adjacent.
adjacent thing works very well.
adjacent.
Yeah, I don't have to identify with you, but I'm next to you. I'll be there.
So yeah, so I mean, I know this
By
conversation.
the way,
Yeah, go for it.
Annie is nutty, Malice. Just so you know.
Oh, okay. Hello, Natty.
Annie in chat is nutty.
Hello, Natty. Welcome to the shit show.
That sounds like its own T-shirt.
Right.
Any in the
Nutty
chat
by
is
name, nutty by nature.
I love it.
So yeah, so I know that this sounded like I was going to go on a complete tirade against the vaccine and the government fucking with its mandates. It was a tirade against the mandates. I don't think that the mandates should be there. I think people should be able to make the choices for themselves. And I think that business owners should be able to make their own choices as whether or not they want to require you to have a vaccine, as is the freedom of being a business owner.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's what's happening here. A lot of businesses are mandating that their staff are vaccinated.
So like if the business mandates it, it's a private business. Do what the fuck they say or get the fuck out, whether you're eating there or working there. And I don't have to agree with it, but it's the way the law is. And if you don't want to get the vaccine, then find places that don't mandate, which probably means go to Texas.
Do not get me started on that.
Or you can go to Papua New Guinea. Go to Papua New Guinea. There's no virus there. You're fine.
My luck, I'd be the one to take it there.
So yeah, so Texas is probably like, I think Texas and Florida are like the only ones really not throwing down any mandates. So if you want to find
we're throwing down mandates that that you can't mandate. Like literally, that's what our governor did. Like, I ban you from mandating.
to the businesses.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
So I think a private business owner should be able to make the decision for themselves. If they don't have a problem with it, then don't get the vaccine and go eat there. If they got a problem with it, then it's a private business. Stop your bitching. Stop bitching about what a private business does. There's a reason why we have freedoms as Americans, and part of that freedom is being able to make a decision of whether or not we want to serve you or give you our service for whatever reason we find or deem.
I still want to bitch about that, but that's another topic, not for tonight, because all the tax breaks and all the things that all of them get, my money doesn't need to support you if you're not going to support me. Bye-bye, honey.
Exactly. I got you. So, with that being said, my happy ass is falling asleep right now at 11:08 p.m. Thank you to my co-hosts, Mystic, Salon. If you need to get your hair did, go get it done with him. I'm fucking with you. That's not how it's spelled. Bad joke. And of course, Evil Dua back in the spot with wonderful opinions and controlled opinions this time around.
I was really well behaved.
You were, but I think it's because there's a kid behind you.
Yeah. That's what happens when you got a 10-year-old sitting in the room.
Awesome.
So, right. So thank y'all for hanging out. I greatly appreciate it. You guys are fucking amazing. So final thoughts for me. Shut down the Catholic Church and get vaccinated. There you go. Fuck your evangelical. Exactly. Fuck your evangelical extremism, and wash your hands after you wipe your ass. Sorry. Mystic, what are your final thoughts?
Ditto. And if you're in Florida, stop driving me off the road every freaking day. There's lines. There's lines. So and they tell you where to go.
That was good.
Every day, all day. It is
Good.
true. Our motto, our state motto, must change. I am not from here, by the way. Just putting that out there. I am a transplant.
You're a transplant.
We truly put the duh in Florida.
And Evil, what are your final thoughts?
Pretty much the same. Just take care of yourselves and your families. Wash your hands. Just
Please.
get vaccinated. Do it.
Yeah.
It's not an evil thing. Yes, there are side effects, but fuck it, man. Just fucking do it.
There you go. There you go. I agree. Just get
And
vaccinated.
fuck the Catholic Church.
Yes, exactly. I got my vaccination. Fuck the Pope. Fuck the Catholic Church. Fuck the clergyman. And we will see you all next week. Thank you for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out. Bye.